Chapter 21-25. After Yi Tianyun erupted, he suppressed the Heavenly Tiger Tribe's chief until he could not move. Every time the Heavenly Tiger Tribe's chief tried to get up, he was suppressed by Yi Tianyun and could not move. "I'm asking you, will you submit or not?" Yi Tianyun's words were simple and crude. If he wanted to use force, he would use force. He suppressed the Heavenly Tiger Tribe's chief until he could not breathe. I don't accept this. The Heavenly Tiger Tribe's chief roared furiously. He tried to get up, but he could not get up no matter how hard he tried. The two elders beside him quickly turned into the true form of the white tiger and pounced at Yi Tianyun. They did not want to watch their tribe's chief get suppressed. Hence, they both erupted with power and tried to send Yi Tianyun flying. Don't even think about it. The Ghana tribe's chief and the others naturally would not stand by and watch. When they were about to turn into their true form, Yi Tianyun swung his tail and sent the two elders flying. "That's all you got? You're still too weak," Yi Tianyun said coldly as he looked down at them from the sky. The Heavenly Tiger Tribe's clansmen were stunned. Their tribe's chief was being stepped on by Yi Tianyun, and the two elders were sent flying. Their power was not worth mentioning at all. The Ghana tribe's chief, who wanted to help, froze on the spot. It looked like they did not need help at all. Yi Tianyun could handle it. No wonder the Lord said to charge in from the main gate. Who can stop him with such power? The Ghana tribe's chief and the others were dumbfounded. They finally understood what Yi Tianyun meant. Yi Tianyun could really suppress the Heavenly Tiger Tribe. His power far surpassed their level. He was close to the level of a great star venerable. If Elder Zhuo were to see this, he would realize that the previous test of strength was a bit overconfident. Even if he isn't the successor of the five-colored Emperor Dragon, he still possesses great strength. Jiao Feilong smiled wryly. When he thought of what they had done earlier, he blushed. It was a joke to test an expert who was much stronger than them. "Do you submit or not?" Yi Tianyun said harshly. Heavenly Tiger Patriarch gritted his teeth, unable to exert any strength at all. However, even if he used his full strength, he still wouldn't be able to defeat Yi Tianyun. Because the gap between them was clear, he did not use all of his strength. He believed that Yi Tianyun did not use all of his strength either. Moreover, Yi Tianyun was the inheritor of the five-colored Emperor Dragon. There was no need for him to fight to the death. "I am willing to submit." In the end, the Heavenly Tiger Patriarch still chose to submit. Yi Tianyun had displayed powerful strength, so how could he not submit? As mentioned before, as long as you defeat them, they will choose to submit. Now that they had been easily defeated, they had no choice but to submit. After submitting, the Heavenly Tiger Clan's clan chief returned to his original appearance, a depressed expression on his face. He had thought that he could defeat the five-colored Emperor Dragon's inheritor. Now, it seemed that they were not on the same level at all. The other two elders flew over once more. They were simply flung out and didn't suffer any serious injuries. Yi Tianyun originally wouldn't be too harsh on them. He just simply flung them out. The Ghana chief and the rest also flew over. They didn't think that it would end so quickly. In just a few moments, it was over. There really wasn't any pressure at all. It was like it had just started and it ended. "Heavenly Tiger Patriarch, can you hand over the Long Moon Azure Dragon Blade now?" The Ghana chief said solemnly. Now that they could finally ask for the Long Moon Azure Dragon Blade back, Heavenly Tiger Patriarch shouldn't refuse, right? No. The Heavenly Tiger Patriarch gritted his teeth and still refused. "No." The Ghana chief frowned and said, "Could it be that Heavenly Tiger Patriarch, are you going to go back on your words? Before this, we already agreed that as long as we win, we will hand over the Long Moon Azure Dragon Blade." "No, I won't hand it over. You can take away other things. Only the Long Moon Azure Dragon Blade can't be given to you." The Heavenly Tiger Patriarch still refused. "Heavenly Tiger Patriarch, it seems like we have to take it by force." The Ghana chief and the rest were somewhat angry. After talking for so long, they were still unwilling to hand it over. Could it be that they really had to force it? "Wait a moment." Yi Tianyun extended his hand to signal the Ghana chief and the rest not to be impulsive. He stared at the Heavenly Tiger Patriarch and said solemnly, Heavenly Tiger Patriarch, I think you are definitely not the kind of person who goes back on his words. Could it be that there is something difficult to say? Yi Tianyun smelled an unusual aura. After thinking about it carefully, the long moon azure dragon blade should have been snatched away long ago. However, they stole it so late at night. It was somewhat unnatural. The Heavenly Tiger Patriarch did not explain and chose to keep his mouth shut. At this time, the Ghana chief and the rest also felt an unusual aura, as if there really was such a thing. They had always been brother tribes, so they wouldn't cause any trouble. Everything was very sudden. No one knew what had happened and the long moon azure dragon blade was stolen. Heavenly Tiger Patriarch, is there really something? The Ghana chief and the rest quickly walked over and stared at the Heavenly Tiger Patriarch and said, "If there's anything, tell us. Don't hide it yourself. All along, our two tribes have been supporting each other. Could it be that you sensed something from the long moon azure dragon blade?" "That's right, Heavenly Tiger Patriarch, we used to drink together often. Could it be that this friendship is broken so easily?" Jiao Feilong also came over and said. The Heavenly Tiger Patriarch was still unwilling to say. He still braced himself and refused to say a single word. "Heavenly Tiger Patriarch, if you don't say it, then I'll forcefully take away the long moon azure dragon blade." Yi Tianyun squinted at him from the side, wanting to see something from the Heavenly Tiger Patriarch's face. The Heavenly Tiger Patriarch knew that if Yi Tianyun forcefully took it away, they would definitely not be able to defend it. "Heavenly Tiger Patriarch, it's better to say it out. We believe that with Lord here, we will definitely be able to defend it." The elder at the side sighed and signaled the Heavenly Tiger Patriarch to speak. "If I hand it over to you, you will be in danger," the Heavenly Tiger Patriarch said solemnly. "This long moon azure dragon blade has a strange phenomenon. I'll bring you over." They looked at each other and followed the Heavenly Tiger Patriarch over. The Heavenly Tiger Patriarch brought them to the Divine Temple. This was the Heavenly Tiger Tribe's Divine Temple. There were all kinds of patterns carved inside. Among them, the pattern of the five-colored Emperor Dragon was the most conspicuous. It was placed in the center area. This meant that they were also extremely respectful to the five-colored Emperor Dragon. As the descendants of Divine General Azure Tiger, they would definitely uphold the heavy responsibility of guarding. The long moon azure dragon blade was placed in the center area, but now it was emitting a faint luster. It looked very strange. "I heard the ancestor say that once the long moon azure dragon blade emits this kind of light, it means that there will be danger," the Heavenly Tiger Patriarch said solemnly. Chapter 21-26. Danger? What danger? Jiao tribe leader and the rest asked anxiously. The long moon green dragon saber may not have much power left, but it still has its own spirituality. It has killed countless giant beasts, so it will naturally be stained with the blood of the giant beasts. Through the blood, it can sense the invasion of the giant beast. Sky Tiger tribe leader said. This means that the giant beasts are likely to attack. Actually, the long moon green dragon saber has another ability, which is to open the war treasure vault of our ancestors. There is a series of arrays inside that can be used to deal with the giant beasts. But we don't know how to open it, and we don't know where it is. From this light, it is very likely that the giant beasts are coming for the long moon green dragon saber. They want to take the long moon green dragon saber, open the war treasure vault, and use our ancestors' treasures to deal with us. Sky Tiger tribe leader said seriously. So if you continue to hold on to the long moon green dragon saber, you will definitely be attacked. Sky Tiger tribe, as the descendants of Green Tiger Divine General, naturally has to shoulder the responsibility of protecting the five-colored Dragon Emperor bloodline. But now that you have found out, I thought that we would be able to hold on. Sky Tiger tribe leader sighed deeply. He thought that the plan was perfect. This way, Sky Tiger tribe would be able to fight against the giant beasts alone. This, Jiao tribe leader and the rest looked at each other and saw shame in each other's eyes. They thought that Sky Tiger tribe leader really came back with the long moon green dragon saber, but his real purpose was to protect Sky Moon tribe. Sky Tiger tribe leader, we are really ashamed. We thought that you, Jiao tribe leader and the rest were filled with regret. They thought that Sky Tiger tribe leader stole the long moon green dragon saber, but who knew that he was protecting them? They had never thought of this and mistakenly thought that Sky Tiger tribe leader had betrayed them. Luckily, they did not go on a killing spree and fight Sky Tiger tribe leader. Otherwise, they would really regret it. You don't have to say these words of regret. Now, let's talk about how to solve this problem. Yi Tianyun said seriously. It seems that danger is getting closer. Yi Tianyun pointed at the long moon green dragon saber in front. At this moment, the long moon green dragon saber was glaring light, which meant that something serious was about to happen. If they were still nagging, then there would be no way to solve the problem. That's right, we should resolve this matter immediately. The Jiao tribe's patriarch's face turned serious, and he said solemnly, "Now, let's gather our two tribes together. That way, we can better resist the giant beast's attack. No, if we gather together, then wouldn't both our families be in danger?" The Sky Tiger tribe leader immediately rejected this suggestion and said, "Let us fight them to the death. We'll kill as many as we can. Haven't you considered transferring the long moon azure dragon saber?" Yi Tianyun suggested. "Yes, but it's too dangerous. We have a barrier here, which makes it difficult for the giant beasts to find us. If we bring the long moon azure dragon saber out, it's equivalent to telling the giant beast that the target is here. This way, we'll die even faster." The Sky Tiger tribe leader shook his head and said, "The best way is to leave it here. We'll fight them to the death. When we really can't hold on any longer, we'll move the long moon green dragon saber out and let the other tribes continue to protect it. After all, this is our responsibility. Since we're the guardian generals, we should carry out our duty to the end." The Sky Tiger tribe leader's face glowed faintly. His fearless gaze showed that he was not afraid of any giant beast or life or death. Yi Tianyun was moved. He thought that he would encounter a traitor, but now it seemed that this was not the case. Their thoughts were so noble. It seemed that they were really carrying out their duty to protect the tribe. They even hid it from the Jiao tribe leader and made him misunderstand that they were stealing the treasure. This was because they knew that the Jiao tribe leader and the rest would definitely join the battle after knowing the truth. That was why they did not tell the Jiao tribe leader and chose this method. It seemed like they were sacrificing themselves to protect the Shallow Moon tribe from being attacked. However, after knowing the truth, it would be a form of harm to the Jiao tribe leader and the rest. I never thought that I would see such a responsibility here. Yi Tianyun thought that they were a bunch of loose sand. Now, it seemed that they were very united and were willing to sacrifice themselves at any time. He admired such people the most. If he could recruit them as his subordinates, they would be absolutely loyal. This was similar to the five-colored god tribe. They were all very loyal subordinates. If he recruited them, there would not be too much resistance. No matter what happened, they would not run away. Instead, they would persevere until the end. This was what he needed. He did not want people who would be easily swayed when they encountered danger. Nonsense. This is nonsense. Do you think that we will be able to live on peacefully if you do this? The Jiao tribe leader and the rest were heartbroken. After knowing the truth, they felt extremely sad. When they thought of their previous attitude, they felt uneasy. "We had no choice but to do this." The Sky Tiger tribe leader smiled bitterly. "Didn't you see through it? If it was before, you would definitely not do this. By the time you made a detailed plan or made all kinds of arrangements, the giant beasts would have attacked." The Jiao tribe leader and the rest could not refute. Before Yi Tianyun went, they had been discussing the plan. For example, what to do after infiltrating and how to arrange all kinds of things. These were all very detailed plans. However, Yi Tianyun's arrival pushed their plans forward. Otherwise, even if the giant beasts came to destroy the Sky Tiger tribe, they would not have attacked. Then, is there no other way to hide the Changyu Azure Dragon Saber's attractive force? Yi Tianyun was thinking about how to solve this problem. He could not just sit around and wait for death, right? Not at the moment. The Sky Tiger tribe leader shook his head. "All right then, I will take the Changyu Azure Dragon Saber away later," Yi Tianyun said in a deep voice. "What? You will take the Changyu Azure Dragon Saber away? The Sky Tiger tribe leader was shocked. If that is the case, you will definitely become a target. A group of giant beasts will chase after you. No, if I really encounter such a situation, I will leave this place. Yi Tianyun looked at the Jiao Na tribe leader and said, perhaps, this is the last solution. This. The Jiao Na tribe leader and Jiao Feilong knew what the solution was. As long as Yi Tianyun left, the giant beasts would not be able to sense his aura. Naturally, the problem would be solved. Chapter 21-27. Yi Tianyun actually did not want to use this method. He did not want to return empty-handed. Who knew what kind of situation he would run into? But wouldn't it be too heartless to just leave it like this? Especially in the future, when he still had a chance to return. The Divine Jade Tablet could not be purchased from the shop, but it might drop from killing enemies in the future. Thus, it was important to protect this place. Of course, everything was uncertain. As long as it was not a giant divine beast that came, he believed that he could fight against all beast. Don't worry. I won't do this if I have no other choice. Yi Tianyun smiled faintly. I want to see how many beasts there are here. I'll kill as many as they come. Killing these beasts could also earn him a shocking amount of star energy. After all, even if he obtained the Emperor Flower, he still needed a shocking amount of star energy to increase his cultivation. Speaking of which, what do you mean by leaving this place? The Sky Tiger tribe leader was dumbfounded. He did not know what Yi Tianyun and the others were talking about. The Ghana tribe leader then explained Yi Tianyun's situation. When the Sky Tiger tribe leader heard this, he was extremely shocked. There's such a treasure. The Sky Tiger tribe leader was shocked. Although this was their route, they had to find a way to leave when faced with the suppression of the giant divine beasts. Unfortunately, they could not find a way to leave, so they could only stay here. Now that Yi Tianyun had come from the outside and used such a special treasure, the Sky Tiger tribe leader was truly shocked. More or less, so don't worry. If I leave, I'll think of a way to find a similar treasure in the future. It would be great if I knew the location of this place. We have no idea where the giant divine beast's territory is from the outside. Yi Tianyun shook his head. It was not that he did not want to come, but he did not know the location. They looked at each other. This was the only method they could use for now. They could solve the problem of the Long Moon Azure Dragon Blade and save the Sky Tiger tribe. If possible, the Sky Tiger tribe definitely did not want to die. No one wanted to die. But at this critical moment, they could only choose to sacrifice. They did not want to give away the Long Moon Green Dragon Saber. Although it seemed to have solved the problem, if the treasure vault was taken by them, they would die even more miserably. Looks like that's the only way. But won't you be going back empty-handed? The Ghana patriarch knew what Yi Tianyun was looking for and how important it was to Yi Tianyun. This is very important to me, but I can't just watch you guys fall into danger, right? Yi Tianyun shrugged. This was the only choice he had. If that's the case. They looked at each other. The Ghana chief sighed and said, how about this, sir? Tell us the divine medicine you need. If you really leave, we will help you find it. The next time you have a way to come over, we will give it to you immediately. All right. Thank you very much. Yi Tianyun's eyes lit up. This was indeed a good idea. It would save him a lot of trouble. Sir, there's no need to thank us. We should be the ones thanking you. How could they bear this gratitude? If Yi Tianyun helped them solve this problem, he would be the savior of their two tribes. What was the big deal about finding the divine medicine? Ding. Successfully accepted the mission to rescue the Sky Tiger tribe and the Light Moon tribe. Reward, 10 million star energy and 1 super teleportation stone, allows one to travel to any location, ignores all restrictions, can only be used 10 times. The mission that popped up made Yi Tianyun's eyes light up. The main thing was that he could obtain a special tool. The super teleportation stone could ignore all restrictions and teleport. This was an absolute escape tool. However, he could only obtain it after completing the mission. Let's not be pretentious. I'll go take the Long Moon Green Dragon Saber and see what's going on. If possible, I don't want to leave in such a hurry. Yi Tianyun really did not want to waste so much time. Although it was not urgent, it was always good to increase his strength. Of course, he could obtain the super teleportation stone after dealing with the two tribes and come over directly. But he had only just obtained it, and he could not even set the coordinates. Immediately, Yi Tianyun came in front of Long Moon Azure Dragon Saber and reached out to grab the Long Moon Azure Dragon Saber. As soon as he grabbed the Long Moon Azure Dragon Saber, a surge of power surged from his body and poured into the Long Moon Azure Dragon Saber. As his power poured in, the rust on the surface of the Long Moon Green Dragon Saber began to disappear. Oh my god, what am I seeing? The rust on the Long Moon Green Dragon Saber is starting to disappear. They were all dumbfounded. They had been trying to get rid of the rust for a long time. This kind of rust was a curse, and it was not something that could be scraped off easily. Now that Yi Tianyun had just grabbed it, he was already cleaning the rust. It was incredible. Yi Tianyun also felt that it was incredible. He could clearly feel the energy released by the six-colored Emperor Dragon, constantly purifying the rust on the Long Moon Green Dragon Saber. It can have such an effect. Yi Tianyun stared at the Long Moon Green Dragon Saber in his hand. The Long Moon Green Dragon Saber was also trembling and emitting a cheerful sound, as if it would come back to life at any time. As time passed, the rust on the saber quickly disappeared, revealing the true appearance of the Long Moon Green Dragon Saber. There was a huge azure dragon wrapped around the blade, as if it would rush out of the saber at any time. The sharp blade could easily cut through space, and with a slight vibration, it could tear a small hole in space. It actually returned to its original state. Yi Tianyun held the Long Moon Green Dragon Saber tightly. The rust on it completely disappeared, and it returned to its original appearance. Unfortunately, its quality had dropped significantly. It was now only at the late-stage galaxy grade, but it was still a top-notch weapon. The Long Moon Green Dragon Saber had been corroded for so many years, yet it still had such an effect. It was already amazing. Most importantly, it gave Yi Tianyun the feeling that the Long Moon Green Dragon Saber was his own weapon. Is this really Divine General Green Tiger's weapon? Yi Tianyun looked at the Long Moon Green Dragon Saber. Logically speaking, it should be carved with a green tiger. This is Divine General Green Tiger's weapon, but it was forged by the five-colored Emperor Dragon for Divine General Green Tiger. The Sky Tiger Patriarch looked at the weapon in a daze. They were all shocked by the restored Long Moon Green Dragon Saber, as if they were witnessing the glory of the Long Moon Green Dragon Saber again. So that's how it is. Yi Tianyun finally understood why this happened. This Long Moon Green Dragon Saber was forged by the five-colored Emperor Dragon, so it contained the five-colored Emperor Dragon's energy. After he activated it, it could unleash its true power. Chapter 21-28. The Long Moon Azure Dragon Knife had been restored to its original state, which meant it could be used again. Most importantly, the rust on it, which was the blood of the giant beasts, could be removed. After all the blood was removed, the giant beasts would not be able to find them through the blood. In this way, they would be able to avoid a series of dangerous problems. That's it. Yi Tianyun held the Long Moon Azure Dragon Knife tightly and shook it slightly. The light it emitted disappeared and the knife went back to its original state. How could the giant beasts find them without sensing them? It's really done. They were all dumbfounded. The previous plan, the tragic words, and the words about sacrificing themselves had all been omitted. They basically did not need to say anything. Now we don't even need to fight, do we? Yi Tianyun turned around and said to them with a smile. Yes. We cut off all communication. Of course they can't find the Long Moon Azure Dragon Knife. They were all relieved. Finally, they had solved a dangerous problem. Yi Tianyun nodded. It should be easy to solve the problem. As soon as he finished speaking, the whole world started to shake, as if something was hitting it crazily. The giant beasts are attacking. The chieftain of the Heavenly Tiger tribe and the others turned pale. They had thought the problem was solved, but the giant beasts had already reached the outside world. Yi Tianyun sensed the horrible situation outside immediately. Many giant beasts were hitting the ground crazily. A giant pit had been created in the ground. The beasts had reached the periphery of the small world. Fortunately, the periphery of the small world was protected by a strong tactical formation. Otherwise, it would have been broken. But the current situation was not optimistic. A group of giant beasts was hitting the place crazily. It would collapse at any moment. Yi Tianyun sensed the situation of the giant beasts outside with a simple glance. By rough estimation, there were at least 5-star venerable level giant beasts and dozens of Star-Lord level giant beasts. As for beasts of other cultivations, they were densely packed. They almost occupied the whole area. Great. Leave this place to us. You move quickly. Yi Tianyun was holding the long moon azure dragon knife. His eyes were cold, full of killing intent. Let's see how strong these giant beasts are. I barely killed any giant beasts there. Sir, shouldn't we retreat? Now that the effects of the long moon azure dragon saber had been dispelled, it would be difficult for them to find him. As long as we retreat quickly, they won't be able to catch up to us. Heavenly Tiger Lord and the others were a little confused. Although they had to give up this place, it was better than fighting them to the death. Based on the current situation, do you think that the small world will be able to last until all of you evacuate? Yi Tianyun looked at them indifferently. They were all startled. What he said was true. They still had a lot of things that they hadn't evacuated. Normally, they could just move them out of the small world. Not now. The giant beasts were already outside, so they could only choose to give up on many things. However, there were still many things that needed to be evacuated. According to the current situation, they wouldn't be able to hold on for too long. Under the impact of so many giant beasts, it would soon collapse. You guys evacuate. I'll stand guard outside. Yi Tianyun's eyes flashed. To him, this wasn't just a matter of star energy, but also a chance to test out the power of the long moon azure dragon blade. Sir, we'll go with you. The Ghana Patriarch and the others stood up, wanting to go with Yi Tianyun. There's no need. Just help us evacuate. The faster, the better. Yi Tianyun gestured for them to stop. Without another word, he turned around and flew outside. The Ghana Patriarch and the others paused, then gritted their teeth and said, "Help us evacuate first. We'll go out and take a look later." All right. The Heavenly Tiger Lord and the others didn't waste any more time. In the face of danger, they had to evacuate as quickly as possible. Following that, they quickly began to evacuate their belongings and move their clansmen. Although they had extra teleportation arrays, moving a large number of clansmen could easily attract giant beasts. Thus, they needed powerhouses to protect them. While they were evacuating, Yi Tianyun flew out of the small world. At this time, the small world was already filled with giant beasts. At a glance, there were beasts of all levels and types. The powerful giant beasts had huge bodies that were like small mountains. When Yi Tianyun first appeared, the giant beasts immediately noticed him. Growl. A giant tiger pounced on him. The power of a Star Lord pressed down. They didn't use any star power, but their giant bodies were strong enough to send everything flying. Even without the support of star power, their fighting prowess was off the charts. Die. Yi Tianyun turned the long moon azure dragon saber in his hand and slashed it down. He didn't use much strength. The sharp long moon azure dragon saber cut the giant tiger in half. He killed it easily. It's so sharp. Yi Tianyun's eyes lit up. As expected of the divine weapon that followed the divine General Green Tiger. It was too easy for him to kill giant beasts. As the saber rose and fell, a giant beast was killed easily. No matter how hard the beast's shell or giant body was, it couldn't resist his saber. Kill him. Snatch the long moon azure dragon saber. The giant beasts at the star venerable level in the front started to speak in the human language. They ordered their subordinates to jump on Yi Tianyun. You want to kill me? You are too naive. The long moon azure dragon saber in Yi Tianyun's hand buzzed. He laughed heartily and said, You want to drink blood? Since you have come back to this world, I will let you drink their blood. Then Yi Tianyun exerted all of his power. 30 cubic meters of star power overlapped and blossomed above his head. The 5-color Emperor Dragon's figure also soared up. Azure Dragon Slash. Yi Tianyun held the saber with both hands and slashed it down heavily. A giant 6-color saber radiance slashed down vertically. A large number of giant beasts in front of him were instantly cut in half. The long moon azure dragon saber and the six-color emperor dragon's power in his body were a perfect match. It brought out the strongest effect. A large number of beasts died under one slash. Another slash killed another group of giant beast. The dreadful power scared the giant beasts at the star venerable level in front of him and made them step back. They were all frightened by this power. They hadn't expected the human in front of them to have such a great power. Kill. They didn't retreat. Instead, they continued to order their subordinates to charge at Yi Tianyun. They wanted to exhaust him to death. Bring it on. Yi Tianyun laughed. The long moon azure dragon saber in his hand shone with a dazzling six-color divine light. Every time he raised the saber, a large number of giant beasts would be killed. Chapter 21-29. The Sky Tiger Patriarch and the rest quickly evacuated their clansmen. But not long after, they could no longer feel any movement. The giant beasts were no longer crazily attacking the barrier. In fact, there was no movement at all. What happened? Were the giant beasts lured away by Lord Yi Tian? The Ghana Patriarch and the rest were puzzled. They did not know what had happened. In just a short while, they could no longer feel the giant beasts attacking the barrier. Now, they were moving very quickly. Not all of their clansmen had been evacuated, but at least half of them had been evacuated. They were very proficient in the area of teleportation. They had practiced it countless times. They were always on guard against the giant beasts' attacks. Once the giant beasts attacked, they would immediately escape. Only by practicing many times would they be able to survive in such a critical moment. Otherwise, when the time came, they would be flustered and suffer countless casualties. Should we send someone up to take a look? The Sky Tiger Patriarch suggested. No need. We will go up and help. You guys continue to evacuate. There aren't many clansmen left. Even if the small world is breached, we can easily evacuate. The Ghana Patriarch brought Defy along and flew out of the small world. He wanted to see how Yi Tianyun was doing. It was possible that the beasts had really been lured away by Yi Tianyun. The Sky Tiger Patriarch thought about it and did not stop them. He continued to evacuate. When the Ghana Patriarch and the rest arrived at the world above, the scene that greeted their eyes stunned them. The entire ground was dyed red with blood. Huge corpses lay on the ground. Even the sky was raining blood. It was extremely horrifying. When they saw the countless corpses, their hearts trembled. They knew how strong these giant beasts were. Now that they were all chopped into two, it was extremely shocking. At the same time, they saw a figure standing on top of a mountain of corpses. This person was none other than Yi Tianyun, who had just killed his way out. Now, he held the long moon azure dragon saber and stood there. There was not a single drop of blood on his body. Even the saber in his hand was not stained with a single drop of blood. On the other hand, the surroundings were filled with blood. Not a single giant beast was standing. It was truly a horrifying sight. Sir, you killed all these giant beasts. The Ghana tribe leader and the others trembled in their hearts. They had thought that Yi Tianyun had come out to help, or that he had been forced to flee in all directions. But now, it seemed that he hadn't been fleeing in all directions, but had instead annihilated all the giant beast. The dreadful power made their hearts tremble. It must be known that there were several star venerable level giant beasts outside. A giant beast in the early stage of the star venerable realm would not feel any fear even if it faced a practitioner in the late stage of the star venerable realm. The giant beasts in front of them were at least at the intermediate stage of star venerable realm, but none of them could escape the fate of being cut in half. At most, he would be hit a few times consecutively and die even more miserably. Yes, in a moment of carelessness, I destroyed them all. Yi Tianyun's expression was indifferent. He looked so casual that he didn't even take a breath. In a moment of carelessness. The Ghana tribe leaders were dumbfounded. They had also wanted to destroy all the giant beasts in a moment of carelessness. It's safe now, but I suggest we move somewhere else. This place isn't safe anymore. We've been discovered by the giant beasts. Yi Tianyun turned his head to look at the giant craters on the ground, which had been created by the giant beasts. He had destroyed them this time, but it didn't mean they were safe. Next time, the giant divine beasts would surely send even stronger giant beasts. At that time, they would be in even more danger. That's true. The Ghana tribe leader said with a bitter smile, "Let's inform the Heaven Tiger tribe leader and ask him to take the small world away. This will save us a lot of trouble." "Okay." Yi Tianyun said with a smile, "Don't you want to take some of these giant beasts' corpses? They're good supplements. I have to take some of them. We can't waste them." Yi Tianyun extended his hand and took away some star venerable giant beasts and star venerable giant beasts' corpses. These were all great supplements. After eating them, it was like taking spiritual herbs. They could increase one's cultivation. This was especially true for those with low cultivation. If they ate them, the effects would be shocking. These giant beasts had been eating spiritual herbs to make breakthroughs. Since they had eaten a lot, their bodies had changed. Eating their flesh could increase one's cultivation by a lot. Of course. Normally, we wouldn't dare to kill so many giant beasts. It's easy to attract giant beasts. The eyes of the Ghana tribe leader and the others lit up. Their cultivation was very high. It wouldn't be effective for them, but it would be effective for their clansmen. They often went out to kill giant beasts. Mood Saibwa and the others had done the same. These teams often went out to kill giant beasts as supplements. Jiao Filong stayed there to collect the corpses, while the Ghana tribe leader went back to inform the Heaven Tiger tribe leader. The Heaven Tiger tribe leader rushed over after hearing the news. By the time he arrived, only a small portion of the corpses were left, and the ground was covered in blood. "They're all dead." The Heaven Tiger tribe leader was scared out of his wits, just like the Ghana tribe leader and the others. When they encountered something like this, they would just turn and run. But Yi Tianyun had killed them all. The difference was like heaven and earth. Heaven Tiger tribe leader, thank you so much for the everlasting moon green dragon saber. If not for it, I really wouldn't have been able to kill them all. Yi Tianyun touched the long moon azure dragon blade very lovingly. When he held this long moon azure dragon blade, he felt that his combat power has been greatly improved. He really reached the realm of killing gods. Without the everlasting moon green dragon saber, he really wouldn't have been able to do this. Perhaps some giant beasts had slipped away, or they were surrounded and couldn't escape. But it was different now. With the everlasting moon green dragon saber, no matter how many came, they would all die. He would pounce and slash, directly cutting them in half. Of course, this is a weapon forged by Lord Five-Colored Monarch Dragon. In addition, Lord Azure Tiger Divine General strengthened it. Its might is extraordinary. Unfortunately, it has been corroded for too long. Otherwise, if it was in the past, even if an ordinary person threw it, they would be able to cut a star venerate level giant beast in half. The Heaven Tiger tribe leader was very proud. This was their ancestors' divine weapon. Yi Tianyun nodded. The Heaven Tiger tribe leader wasn't exaggerating. Based on his previous level, he could indeed do this. Of course, he was talking about cutting them once. But would a star venerate level giant beast be casually cut? Then I'll return this everlasting moon green dragon saber to you. Yi Tianyun handed it over reluctantly. If he held it for himself, the effect would definitely be doubled. "Lord, this everlasting moon green dragon saber is the most suitable for you to use." The Heaven Tiger tribe leader shook his head and said, "Only you can bring out the greatest effect. Furthermore, you saved us, so it's even more suitable for you to use." Chapter 2130. Yi Tianyun could clearly feel the effects of the long moon azure dragon saber. He had to admit that it was too powerful. He had galaxy-grade weapons before, all given to him by Tian Yuan. They were equally powerful, but compared to this long moon azure dragon saber, the difference was too big. The difference in grade was not small, but the key was that he could use it easily, as if he had used it for a long time. It could really bring out his strength to the extreme. Sure enough, a top-notch weapon could greatly increase his battle power, giving him the help of God. Therefore, when the Sky Tiger tribe leader said that he could use the long moon azure dragon saber, he did not hesitate at all. He would not let go of anything that could increase his strength. After the matter was over, they continued to move. This time, they moved to the Shallow Moon tribe. After all, the area where the Sky Tiger tribe was located had fallen and was uninhabitable. The other new areas had not been found yet, so they could only settle in the Shallow Moon tribe first. When they arrived at the Shallow Moon tribe, the tribesmen were initially very angry. Seeing the Sky Tiger tribe, they were definitely furious. The long moon azure dragon saber that they had been worshipping was stolen. How could they not be angry? After being informed by the Ghana tribe leader, they were all stunned. They did not expect the Sky Tiger tribe to go this far. Immediately, they all felt ashamed and accepted the Sky Tiger tribe and arranged the best accommodation for them. Yi Tianyun and the Ghana tribe leader began to study the long moon azure dragon saber and check its condition. They wanted to see if the long moon azure dragon saber could lead them to the treasury. They had never known where the treasury was. Ever since they were controlled by the divine beasts, many things were blocked and could not be explored. Therefore, the divine beasts knew how to get there, while the Sky Tiger tribe did not. You want to know where the treasury is through the long moon azure dragon saber? Yi Tianyun laughed when he knew why they came to find him. Yes, we don't know where the treasury is. We can only see if we can find the location of the treasury from the recovered long moon azure dragon saber, said the Sky Tiger tribe leader. That's not necessary. I know where the treasury is. Yi Tianyun smiled. Great one, you know where the treasury is? They were shocked, feeling that this was inconceivable. Yi Tianyun wasn't a cultivator here, so how could he know where the treasury was? Yes, I know where the treasury is. Yi Tianyun said calmly, you must be wondering where I got this information. In fact, I got it from the giant beast's memory. The memory of a star venerable is quite valuable. Yi Tianyun grinned. After gaining control of the long moon azure dragon saber, he had long thought about the treasury. No matter what, he had to open the treasury. If they opened it one day, it would be troublesome. This was why he had searched the soul of the star venerable giant beast before killing it, and he had obtained its memories easily. At the same time, he had learned a lot about the giant divine beast's domain. However, it was still not enough. This giant beast did not even know the detailed map of the giant divine beast domain. They usually only went to a few places. As for where the divine medicine was, they didn't know. The reason was very simple. Their subordinates had already helped them pick the fruits, so what else did they need to know? They only needed to be responsible for eating, and they didn't need to care about anything else. Fortunately, they knew a lot of inside information, which was enough. Of course, they also didn't know where the giant divine beast's domain was. They had never left this region since they were born, and they had to admit that it was quite miserable. You can still find such important information by searching the soul. The Ghana tribe's leader and the others were shocked. It should have been very difficult to search the beast's memories. I'll have to use some tricks. In any case, I know where the treasury is. Yi Tianyun said solemnly, it's heavily guarded, and it's not easy to enter. However, it's still possible to force your way in. But if you come out, it's hard to say. Maybe there's only one exit. They had never been to the treasury, so they didn't know whether there were other teleportation formations there. If there weren't, they would have to force their way out. However, Yi Tianyun wasn't worried. He had just completed the mission, and he had easily obtained 10 million star energy points and a super teleportation divine stone. Now, he could easily pass through any region, and he wouldn't have to worry about being trapped. Even if he had to obey the law, he would still be able to pass through without any obstacles. After obtaining the key, he immediately set the coordinates here so that he wouldn't forget. That's true. They know the importance of the treasury, so they'll definitely send a large number of soldiers to guard it. The Ghana tribe's leader and the others were both happy and worried. Even if they had the key now, they wouldn't dare to open the treasury casually. Why don't we contact the leaders of the other tribes and go together? With a few more powerhouses, it'll be a great guarantee, the Ghana tribe's leader suggested. The other tribes have a good relationship with us, and there are also descendants of other divine generals among them. They can participate as well. Yi Tianyun pondered for a moment, then nodded. Sure, let's gather them together. That way, we can split the benefits equally. Yi Tianyun had originally planned to go alone, but after some thought, he decided that it would be better to bring more people with him. Having a few more helpers was undoubtedly the best choice. After all, they undoubtedly knew more about the Divine General's treasury. All right, let's gather them now. The eyes of the Ghana tribe's leader and the others lit up. It would be best if they could go together. Then, they immediately went to inform the other tribes. Because they were in contact with each other, it was relatively easy to get in touch. After contacting them, it didn't take long for the chiefs and elders of the other tribes to come over one after another. How could they not be enthusiastic when they could go to the treasury to search for treasures together? They're all rushing over here now. They'll be here soon. After the Ghana tribe's leader contacted them, he looked at Yi Tianyun and asked, "Sir, aren't you going to look for the divine medicine first?" "Actually, I have the same intention, but I believe that it will take a lot of time to look for the divine medicine, right? Just the 10,000 emperor flower alone will take a long time, right?" Yi Tianyun had seen the map. Ignoring the fact that there were powerful giant beasts guarding that place, just heading there would take a lot of time. Unless they charged all the way there, it would be no different from courting death. They would definitely attract the attention of a large number of giant beasts. That's true. The Ghana tribe's leader nodded. Chapter 21:31. Yi Tianyun's idea was simple. It would be great if he could find it in the treasury. If he couldn't find it, he would have to look for it in other places, which would take a lot of time. For the moment, going to the treasury was undoubtedly the most time-saving way. It could save him a lot of time. Soon, the chiefs and elders of the other tribes arrived at the Shallow Moon tribe. Basically, every tribe would send a tribe leader and an elder to the treasury area. Experts would definitely be needed, and not those with lower cultivation bases, as that would only be a burden to the tribe. "Chief Jorna, I heard there was a big fight in the Heavenly Tiger tribe. What's going on?" "We sent people there to check it out, but they all left. There were 6 of them. 3 of them were chiefs, and the other 3 were elders. All of them were star venerables. As chiefs, they couldn't resist the giant beast's attack unless they were star venerables. They asked about the Heavenly Tiger tribe's situation as soon as they arrived. They looked worried. However, they were struck dumb when they saw the chief of the Heavenly Tiger tribe as soon as they arrived. What could possibly happen to our Heavenly Tiger tribe? However, the fact that we were able to withstand the invasion of the colossal beasts is largely due to the help of our Lord. If it weren't for the help of our Lord, our Heavenly Tiger tribe would have truly suffered a calamity," said the Heavenly Tiger tribe patriarch. "Lord?" They didn't know what that meant. Who else could be called Lord? "This is our Lord, the inheritor of the 5-color Emperor Dragon," the chief of the Heavenly Tiger tribe introduced him to the others. Suddenly, the eyes of the 6 people fell on Yi Tianyun. Looking up and down, they really can't see anything special about him. Yi Tianyun exerted the star spiritual laksana of the 6-color Emperor Dragon. He showed up in front of the others soon. When everyone saw this, they were shocked. It really was the 5-colored Emperor Dragon's inheritor. Although he was a 6-color Emperor Dragon, he hadn't changed much. His energy was very familiar. So, no matter how he had changed, he was essentially the same as the 5-color Emperor Dragon. "Greetings, my lord." 4 of them knelt down with great respect. 2 of them didn't kneel, which meant that they were merely allies and not descendants of the Divine General. The people from the other 2 tribes were descendants of the Divine General. Originally, the Sky Tiger tribe leader planned to resist the huge beast. If he really couldn't hold on any longer, he would hand the long moon azure dragon saber to one of the tribes for safekeeping and protection. The other one was an ally, but he still held great respect for him. After all, they all knew about the 5-colored Emperor Dragon's situation. They were only able to survive because of the 5-colored Emperor Dragon. Naturally, they were very respectful. Get up." Yi Tianyun raised his hand and gestured for them to get up. It seemed like they were really quite loyal. None of them had any doubts, and their hearts had never changed. He was truly willing to sacrifice himself to serve the 5-colored Emperor Dragon. "I'm sure you all know what I've asked you to do, so I won't waste any more time. You can set off now." Yi Tianyun said solemnly, "When the time comes, please listen to my instructions. Do whatever I tell you to do. Yes, my lord. They all nodded heavily and didn't question him. It wasn't that Yi Tianyun had absolute control, but he knew the situation over there through the huge beast's memory. If they followed his method, it would undoubtedly be easier. After a few simple instructions, they immediately set off. Along the way, it wasn't Yi Tianyun who led the way, but the Ghana tribe leader himself. Yi Tianyun only needed to tell him the general direction. The Ghana tribe leader was more familiar with this area, so it was best for him to lead the way. Yi Tianyun had great strength and could easily kill huge beasts. However, if he attracted the attention of some huge beasts, he would immediately attract other huge beasts to attack him. By then, it would be difficult to move forward. Therefore, letting the Ghana tribe leader lead them forward was the best choice. In the end, it proved that Yi Tianyun's choice was right. They were safe and sound along the way, easily avoiding the huge beasts. Even if the cultivation of the huge beasts was relatively low, they wouldn't attack them unless they had to take a long detour. Otherwise, they wouldn't fight with the huge beasts. Under the Ghana tribe leader's guidance, they quickly approached their destination. This destination was still quite far from their tribe. We're almost there, it's just in front. I can clearly feel the aura of many huge beasts in front of us. The Ghana tribe leader frowned. His keen perception allowed him to sense the situation of the huge beasts from afar. Immediately, the Ghana tribe leader let Yi Tianyun lead the team. Yi Tianyun had previously said that he would lead the team. Everyone, follow me. We won't clash with them head-on. That will only attract more huge beasts. Yi Tianyun quietly led them to the edge of the forest, and after passing through a forest, they saw the entrance of the temple in front of them. The entire temple was buried underground, and only an opening was exposed. It wasn't that the temple was built underground. Instead, it had always been above ground. As time passed, more and more soil had been buried, and this place had been covered. As a result, only the main entrance of the temple was exposed. The rest of the temple was underground, and it looked like it was built underground. Many huge beasts were wandering around outside the main entrance of the temple. They seemed quite carefree, as if this was their residence. They were lying on the ground and basking in the sun. At a glance, there were 4 or 5 star venerates and several dozen star venerates. Whether it was underground or in the air, there were many giant beasts circling around, tightly surrounding this place. It seemed like they were very cautious about the treasure house, and they wouldn't let the tribe get it. So many huge beasts, they gasped. How could they go in when they saw so many huge beasts in the sky? There was only one entrance. As long as they appeared in their line of sight, they would immediately be attacked. Moreover, it would take some time to open the door. They couldn't just go over and push it open. They would have to stab the long moon azure dragon knife into the door and wait for it to open. As for how long it would take, they didn't know. If it took a long time, wouldn't they have to face this group of huge beasts? Even if they were powerful star venerables, they still wouldn't be able to resist them for a long time, would they? Chapter 2132. Their eyes lit up when Yi Tianyun said he had a way. It would be great if there was a way. But what kind of way would it be? They were very curious. What is Master's plan? They asked doubtfully. It's very simple. I'll lure them over, Yi Tianyun said with a smile. What? They were dumbfounded. They thought they would use some method to lure the giant beast away, or use some method to sneak into the temple. Now it seemed that it was not the case at all. Yi Tianyun would personally take action and lure them over. What was the difference between this and no plan? Master, isn't this too dangerous? I thought you had a plan. The Ghana tribe leader did not know whether to laugh or cry. He really thought that Yi Tianyun had a good plan. What plan can I have? There are so many beasts here and there is only one at the door. Even if I have great abilities, I can't enter from other places. Yi Tianyun shrugged his shoulders and said, so I have to attract them personally, and you will open the door. With that, Yi Tianyun handed the long moon azure dragon knife to the Ghana tribe leader so that they could open the door. He was mainly to attract the firepower. The others could just sneak in. Let's go together and help. Maybe that will be better. The Sky Tiger tribe leader interrupted. The other tribe leaders nodded. They also wanted to participate. If more people could help, it would definitely attract more attention. No need, I'll do it. If you guys go together, it will easily distract them and even make them suspicious. Yi Tianyun explained. If I do it alone, it will be slightly better. If I really can't do it, then I'll ask you guys for help. Master, isn't this too dangerous? If we are not careful, we will fall into trouble. The Red Wolf tribe leader was very worried. As the descendant of a divine general, he was very concerned about the master. Yes, master, you can't take the risk. This kind of thing can be done by us. The Moon Snake tribe leader also echoed. None of them wanted Yi Tianyun to come personally. Even though they had never met before, to them, as long as he was the heir of the five-colored Emperor Dragon, he was the most important. At this time, the Sky Tiger Patriarch stretched out his hand and pulled back the Crimson Wolf Patriarch and the others, saying with a smile, "Let the Lord go, we will just listen to the Lord's orders." The Heavenly Tiger Patriarch and the others had all witnessed Yi Tianyun's strength before, so they naturally would not stop him at all. Looking at their expressions, he found it very funny. They had the same expression before, they were all worried that Yi Tianyun would be in danger, but in reality, that was an all-around suppression. How can this be? There are so many giant beasts. The Crimson Wolf Patriarch and the others still shook their heads. Let us do it. We're more suitable. That's right. We have more people, so it's easier for us to distract them. The main thing is that it's too dangerous. Sir, you can't take the risk. They still chose to stop him. After so long, they had finally waited for the five-colored Emperor Dragon's inheritor. How could they let Yi Tianyun take the risk? What did I say before I came? Yi Tianyun's expression turned cold. Follow your instructions. They sighed. Ian, it's fine as long as you know. I'll leave the rest to you. When I lure them over, you guys come over immediately, understand? Yi Tianyun glanced at them, then turned and charged out. Why didn't you stop the Lord? The Crimson Wolf Patriarch and the others were very dissatisfied. If a few more people stopped him, they could still make Yi Tianyun stop. Stop him? The Heavenly Tiger Patriarch chuckled. You'll know later, what is called the Lord. This is the standard that a true powerhouse should have. Before he finished speaking, a roar was heard. The huge six-colored Emperor Dragon's figure pressed down from the sky, instantly crushing a group of giant beasts. Then, like plowing a field, it crushed a group of giant beasts into minced meat. Growl. As soon as the giant beasts saw Yi Tianyun, they all turned around and shifted their attention to Yi Tianyun. Bring it on. Yi Tianyun laughed. The giant six-colored Emperor Dragon jumped forward, fearlessly dashing toward the group of giant beasts. Chaos anger. Yi Tianyun opened his giant mouth and breathed. A giant light beam swept toward the giant beasts. A large number of giant beasts were instantly blown into ashes. The Crimson Wolf Patriarch and the others were dumbfounded by the great power. This is so powerful. It seems that the star venerable giant beast was crushed by his foot. I didn't see it wrong. The star venerable giant beast was crushed by his foot. Isn't the Lord too strong? They were all petrified. The others, who had never seen Yi Tianyun's power, were all shocked. Only the Heavenly Tiger Tribe's Patriarch and the others showed a satisfied smile. They had all seen Yi Tianyun's power, so they knew they would show such an expression. Get ready. We are going to open the gate. The Ghana tribe's Patriarch stared at the gate, ready to rush over to open the gate at any time. Most of the giant beasts had been attracted by Yi Tianyun. There were almost no giant beasts outside the gate of the Divine Palace. Most of the giant beasts had been drawn away, so there were no giant beasts guarding the Divine Palace. Go. At this moment, the Ghana tribe's Patriarch led the crowd to the gate. He took out the long moon azure dragon knife and stabbed it into the gate. Buzz. The long moon azure dragon knife started to shine with a dazzling light. Then the gate started to rumble. It was ready to open. Growl. The giant beasts knew what the plan was when they saw this. Most of them turned around and jumped toward the gate, not wanting to let them in. All of you, stay here. Where are you going? Yi Tianyun looked at the giant beasts with a disdainful gaze. He quickly waved his giant tail and swept it to the side. The giant beasts that jumped toward him were all cut in half at the waist. The gate opened very slowly. It must have been filled with energy before it could open slowly. If it wasn't filled with energy, it couldn't be opened. Therefore, Yi Tianyun could only try his best to block their attack. But there were still some beasts that slipped through the net. But it wasn't a problem for the Ghana tribe's patriarch and the others. They could deal with them easily. Hurry up! Hurry up! They hurriedly shouted at the gate. But their shouts were meaningless. The gate was still filled with energy and opened slowly. It was useless to push it open forcefully. Chapter 21:33. When the door opened to a gap big enough for one person to enter, everyone rushed in and shouted to Yi Tianyun at the same time, "Lord, come in quickly." Yi Tianyun's eyes lit up. With a heavy flick of his tail, he sent the giant beast flying and quickly flew to the door of the shrine. Just as he arrived at the door of the shrine, he quickly pulled out the long moon azure dragon saber and held it tightly in his hand. Without the energy of the long moon azure dragon saber, the door of the shrine began to close. However, the closing speed was the same as the opening speed. It was very slow and closed bit by bit. At this speed, it would take a long time to close, just like before. When the door was completely closed, who knew how many giant beasts would break in? "Lord, you go in, leave this to us." The other patriarchs stood up and wanted to help stop these giant beasts. "No need, you guys go in, I'll guard this door, no one can break in." Yi Tianyun's eyes turned cold. He held the long moon azure dragon saber and slashed at the giant beasts that pounced on him several times. Several huge saber radiants slashed through the sky and swept out. When it came into contact with the hard giant beasts, they were easily cut in half like tofu. No matter how many giant beasts came, they were easily cut outside the door by Yi Tianyun. It could be said that one man could hold the pass against 10,000. With Yi Tianyun standing there, not a single giant beast would be let through. With the support of the long moon azure dragon saber, his power was even more domineering. Even if he did not transform into the original body of the six-colored emperor dragon, he could still erupt with amazing power. He was even much stronger than in his original body. The patriarchs of the Crimson Wolf patriarchs and the others who wanted to help were shocked by the situation. Not only was he powerful in his original body, but now that he was holding the long moon azure dragon saber, the power he erupted was even more shocking. They thought that in the face of Yi Tianyun's attack, they really could not take more than a few moves. "Lord is really amazing, no wonder you didn't stop him. With this strength, why would he need our help? He alone is enough." The patriarchs of the Crimson Wolf patriarchs felt like they were here to pick up treasures. They did not need to do anything at all. "You just didn't say it on purpose. You just wanted to embarrass us." The Crimson Wolf patriarch and the others expressed their dissatisfaction. They wanted to help time and time again, but were rejected by Yi Tianyun. They had thought that Yi Tianyun was putting on a brave front, but now it seemed that he was not putting on a brave front. If Heavenly Tiger Patriarch and the rest had said it in advance, they would not have been so embarrassed. With such a powerful force, why would he need their help? It would only make things worse. "Not at all, not at all. We see that you are so enthusiastic, so we don't want to dampen your enthusiasm, right? Sometimes, we also have to show off our abilities. It's just that Lord doesn't need it, so there's nothing we can do." Heavenly Tiger Lord and the others all laughed, shrugging their shoulders, feeling a bit helpless. "All right, you don't have to explain." The Crimson Wolf Patriarch and the others waved their hands. They didn't want to say anything more. In any case, it was already embarrassing enough. Yi Tianyun, who was at the front, wielded the long moon azure dragon saber and continuously swept it forward. It was as if there was an endless amount of energy bursting out without any pause. There was already a river of blood in front of them. This ruthlessness made their hearts tremble. They had seen overbearing people, but they had never seen such an overbearing one. They did not expect that the long moon azure dragon saber could be used to such a level in the hands of Yi Tianyun. "Go." After Yi Tianyun swung his saber for the last time, he quickly hid behind the door. With a boom, the door closed tightly, just like before. At this time, the giant beasts could finally pounce on them, but they only hit the door, causing their heads to bleed, but they did not break the skin of the door. It had to be said that the door was too hard. If it could be easily broken, they would have broken it long ago. Why would they need to look for the long moon azure dragon saber? Roar. They roared. They had guarded here for so long, but the enemy had invaded, which made them feel very indignant. But no matter how indignant they were, it was meaningless. Immediately, they had giant beasts go back to report the situation here to the giant divine beast. It's safe. When Yi Tianyun heard the crazy crashing sounds outside, he let out a deep breath, and his face was a little pale. It was not that he could not use up all his energy. There was still a lot of consumption, but he could still hold on, so it was not a big problem. If it had been a little longer, he would not have been able to hold on. The consumption was really too shocking. Lord, you're really amazing. I didn't expect you to have such great power. We overestimated ourselves and said that we would help you, but now it seems that we've done something unnecessary. The Crimson Wolf Patriarch and the others were a little embarrassed, feeling that they were really busy for nothing. There's no need to say anything unnecessary. You guys can actually help, but I don't need your help for the time being. For example, the situation in this treasure vault, maybe you guys know something. I can only help a little. Yi Tianyun smiled at them, not feeling that they could not help at all. It was not that they could not help, but Yi Tianyun did not want them to help. To them, killing these giant beasts did not bring them any benefits, but to him, it was a large amount of star energy. How could he not be enthusiastic? If he could not get anything, then he would definitely be willing to let everyone come together instead of trying to be brave alone. Of course, it would be better if he came alone. What if the blade light he swung out hurt his own people? This. Lord, you don't have to comfort us. We know our own situation. But we will work hard. We won't really come here for nothing and not be able to help at all. The Crimson Wolf Patriarch and the others all volunteered. We have some records of this treasure vault. Leave this place to us. Stop bragging. Do you think you know as much as we do? The Sky Tiger Patriarch had a mocking expression on his face. This treasure vault was left behind by the Azure Tiger Divine General, so what did it have to do with the Crimson Wolf Patriarch and the others? That's enough. The Crimson Wolf Patriarch was so angry that he stomped his feet. Can't you give me some face and show off a little in front of the Lord? Having cultivated to this level, they were not very thick-skinned, and they were not the type to come here to freeload. They were only here for a short stroll, and if they were to take away some treasures, they would really feel embarrassed. Not giving. The Sky Tiger Patriarch rolled his eyes at them, then smiled and said, Lord, let's go inside. We know more about this treasure vault, so just treat them as our hired thugs and help us move some things. When the time comes, just give them a little reward, no more. Chapter 2134. Everyone joked around, and the atmosphere relaxed a little. Then, they turned their attention back to the treasury. There was nothing special about the layout of the treasury. It was not like there were treasures all over the ground when they entered. Everything looked very ordinary. It was no different from the shrine outside. If there was any difference, it would be that the great formation here was extremely shocking. It was almost densely covered with stars, and there was not a single loophole. It was no wonder that the giant beasts couldn't break it. Just by looking at this formation, even if a giant divine beast came, it wouldn't be able to break this shrine. If it could be broken, the giant divine beasts would have already rushed over to break it. It was precisely because they could not break it that they thought of a way to get the long moon azure dragon saber to open it so that they could get all the treasures in the treasury. More importantly, they wanted to control the shrine. Divine General Azure Tiger's treasury was not a simple treasury. It was the treasury of the divine generals under the five-colored Emperor Dragon. It was completely different. Divine General Azure Tiger's treasury was important because it contained things that could be used to deal with the giant beasts. Divine General Azure Tiger had left the treasury just to wait for the giant beasts to counterattack so that they could use the treasury. Who knew that the treasury would be occupied? If the long moon azure dragon saber had not been taken away, the giant divine beasts would have taken it for themselves. We learned about Divine General Azure Tiger's treasury before, but we moved too many times over time. Many records have disappeared. The heavenly tiger tribe's leader sighed. Thus, we only know part of the situation. For example, there are all kinds of formations and traps in divine General Azure Tiger's treasury. If we are not careful, we might be injured. This injury is fatal. Even a great star venerable would not be able to withstand it. But that's a record from the past. So much time has passed. I wonder how powerful the formation is now. Even if it's weak, it should be able to kill us on the spot. The heavenly tiger tribe's leader had a serious expression. This was not a joke. The atmosphere became serious. Entering with the long moon azure dragon saber did not mean that they could move around freely. There were still endless dangers. Divine General Azure Tiger was also worried that the long moon azure dragon saber would fall into someone else's hands. What if they opened the treasury and activated the treasures and the formation? At that time, they were afraid that they would harm their own people, so they set up a defensive formation. Divine General Azure Tiger was worried about harming his own people, so he told his descendants the map of the treasury and the situation of the formation. But now, most of the information was gone. The place that was supposed to be easily bypassed had become a trap that could deal with them. When everyone heard the Heavenly Tiger Patriarch's explanation, their faces immediately changed. This was really a huge scam. If they were not careful, they would really die here. Looks like it won't be easy to take control of this treasury. Yi Tianyun stared at the passageway in front of him. He couldn't see anything with his naked eyes, but danger could erupt at any time. He wouldn't even know how he died. Yes, although it is a little difficult, we can still learn a lot of things with our limited records. As long as we can reach the inner area and use the long moon azure dragon saber, we will be able to completely control the treasury. The Sky Tiger Patriarch explained. Alright, let's go now. You guys lead the way. This time, I don't know what's going on. Yi Tianyun smiled and gestured. Then leave it to me. No one knows more than me. Sky Tiger clan leader confidently brought them a few steps forward. Just as he was about to show off, he stepped forward. Suddenly, a few sharp auras slashed towards him vertically and horizontally, forming the shape of a cross. A sense of danger filled with disappointment welled up from the Sky Tiger Patriarch's heart. But someone with sharp eyes and quick hands dragged the Sky Tiger Patriarch over, barely dodging the cross-shaped sharp light. The cross-shaped sharp lights pierced through the place where the Sky Tiger Patriarch stood and continued to slash towards the wall. When they touched the wall, they sank into the wall and flickered with a faint light. So close, I was almost cut into pieces. The Sky Tiger Patriarch broke out in a cold sweat. This was just the beginning, and he almost died. Perhaps he wouldn't die, but after being slashed, he would at least be heavily injured. Sky Tiger Patriarch, your memory seems to be a little off. The Crimson Wolf Patriarch and the others rolled their eyes. Who was so confident before, and was slapped in the face right at the beginning? Accident. The Sky Tiger Patriarch said awkwardly, I have the memory, it's just a little off. After all, some places, the memory is still not too deep. As for this place, go this way. He was just about to leave when he was pulled to the side by Yi Tianyun, who said calmly, not this way, it's this way. That side will still be hit. This place is very well hidden, it's not that easy to walk. Finished talking, Yi Tianyun took the lead and walked to the side. This time, no sharp lights appeared, and they walked over easily. The Sky Tiger Patriarch was even more embarrassed now. Could it be that he was really wrong? When the Crimson Wolf Patriarch and the rest followed out, they thought for a moment, took out a piece of crystal and threw it towards the place where the Sky Tiger Patriarch wanted to go. Before it even landed, it was sliced into pieces by the cross-shaped sharp lights. Really went the wrong way. They were speechless, really went the wrong way again. The Sky Tiger Patriarch was not as accurate as Yi Tianyun. This time, he was even more embarrassed. Master, how can you tell? The Sky Tiger Patriarch rubbed his hands to ease his embarrassment. How can I tell? The bricks on the floor are all different. It's very easy to tell. Yi Tianyun explained indifferently. At this moment, they suddenly turned their heads and realized that it was true. Rows of bricks, only the bricks on one road were different, the rest were the same. This meant that if he walked through the area with different bricks, he would be able to walk through it. Isn't this too simple? It's so easy to see. The Sky Tiger Patriarch didn't know whether to laugh or cry. They had seen through it long ago, but they really didn't think that way. Because as long as they weren't blind, they would be able to see through it, so they thought that it was impossible. The simpler something is, the more you think it's not. This is just using your mentality. Yi Tianyun said as he walked, by the time you react, who knows how many attacks you have suffered. It's already too late. Master is still the best. You can tell right away. Sky Tiger Patriarch and the others smiled bitterly. This was truly a slap in the face. Actually, I was just lucky. Yi Tianyun brought them forward, and after taking a detour, they arrived at the next area. This area was also sparse and ordinary, there was nothing special about it. Even the floor did not have any traces. Chapter 21:35. Yi Tianyun wandered around the place, but he was already shocked by the technique. It was indeed a high-level star pattern technique. It was flawless and could kill a star venerable on the spot easily. Grand star venerables might be able to resist it for a while. However, as time passed, the effect of the technique weakened. There was no formation that could be broken forever. It could only be maintained for a longer period of time. The treasury in front of him could be maintained for a longer period of time. It was amazing that it could still have such an effect after such a long time. At least for now, Yi Tianyun couldn't use his own power to break the star patterns. He scanned the place with the appraisal eye. The star patterns were at least at the 6th or 7th level. How could he break them with his current power? If he wanted to upgrade to this level, he would need an astronomical amount of star energy. The further he went, the more exaggerated it became. The star energy he had wasn't enough for him to upgrade to the 6th or 7th level. He couldn't even upgrade to the 6th level. What about here? Do you have any memories? Yi Tianyun scanned the place. He couldn't see anything, but he could sense that the formation here was perfectly integrated. As for where the explosion would come from, he really didn't know. Yes. The Sky Tiger Tribe's master patted his chest confidently and said with a smile, if I fail here, I won't be qualified to lead the way. The Red Wolf Tribe's master and the Ghana Tribe's master looked at him suspiciously. They still didn't believe him. Why are you looking at me like that? I'll definitely succeed this time. The Sky Tiger Tribe's master stepped forward and said, this is called the formation of many gods. As long as you take a step inside, many strong people will appear to suppress you. Each of them is at least at the peak of the late stage of Star Venerable Realm. You'll be heavily injured if you're lucky, and you'll die if you're unlucky. Formation of many gods. Yi Tianyun glanced around. He could see the structure of the 4 formation eyes. If he stepped inside, the 4 formation eyes would definitely send out the souls of strong people to attack him. Since it was very flexible, it wasn't as rigid as ordinary formations. Therefore, it was easy to kill the enemy when attacked. In particular, the coordination was perfect. There wouldn't be any loopholes. Therefore, as long as one wasn't heaven-defying, they wouldn't be able to withstand 4 fierce attacks. It's very simple to pass through this place. The Heavenly Tiger Patriarch kept them in suspense. After pausing for a moment, he smiled and said, that is to rely on our blood essence to easily pass through. With that, the Heavenly Tiger Clan chief stretched out his finger and cut a wound, drawing a few star runes on their bodies. That's enough. You can pass now. The Heavenly Tiger Clan leader walked forward confidently and easily stepped into the formation. Just as he stepped in, a huge formation spirit appeared in all 4 corners, staring at him like a tiger watching its prey. After sizing him up for a while, he didn't attack. Instead, he just stared at him. I told you it's fine. Come here. The Heavenly Tiger Patriarch continued to walk forward, but after a few steps, the formation spirit suddenly attacked the Heavenly Tiger Patriarch fiercely, scaring the Heavenly Tiger Patriarch into hurriedly retreating. In an instant, he was outside the formation, and the attacks quickly stopped. Didn't you say it's fine just now? The Ghana Patriarch was furious. This was the 2nd time he had made a mistake. If he wasn't careful, he would die here. I remember correctly. They didn't attack just now. The Heavenly Tiger Patriarch didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He didn't know where he went wrong. Heavenly Tiger Patriarch didn't remember wrongly. But this should require a certain footwork to be able to walk through. Just the protection of blood essence isn't enough. You also need to walk the right path. Yi Tianyun interrupted from the side. Along the way, he realized that these formation spirits would attack. But after retreating slightly, they wouldn't attack anymore. This should be the effect of blood essence. If it was anyone else, they would probably have been blasted into smithereens. This seems to be the case. The Heavenly Tiger Patriarch smiled awkwardly. He seemed to have remembered. Seems like. They fiercely rolled their eyes at the Heavenly Tiger Patriarch. Previously, he was so confident. In the blink of an eye, it was as if he was farting. He immediately made a mistake. This mistake wasn't an ordinary mistake. It was a mistake that would cost him his life. It wasn't that they blamed the Heavenly Tiger Patriarch for making a mistake. But the moment he made a mistake, he would be heavily injured or even lose his life. They didn't want such a problem to happen to the Heavenly Tiger Patriarch. No matter what, he was their friend. Especially since the Heavenly Tiger Patriarch was the one who took the lead. If there was a problem, he would be the one to bear the responsibility. Actually, the records provided are too fragmented. There is too little useful information. The Heavenly Tiger Patriarch sighed deeply. He didn't want to do this. Every time he thought there was no problem, there would be other steps. He was also in despair. Didn't you guys say that there were corresponding records? Take them out. Yi Tianyun asked the Scarlet Wolf Patriarch and the others. There are records. Speaking of which, it seems to be related to this formation. The Scarlet Wolf Patriarch and the others took out a portion of the records. Their records were also badly damaged. They could only display a small portion of the records. Among them was a map that recorded how to walk. But they didn't know which formation this map belonged to, so they couldn't use it. At the same time, they didn't know whether it belonged to this formation of gods, either. The information was limited. Let me try and see if it belongs to this formation. Yi Tianyun took a look at the formation and decided to try it himself. Sir, it's too dangerous. You mustn't. The Heavenly Tiger Patriarch and the others hurried to dissuade him. If they went in carelessly, they would definitely be attacked. If it was slightly more serious, their souls would be destroyed. If I don't try, do you want me to let you try? Compared to escaping speed, I was more confident in my ability. Besides, as I said before, I'm here to help. Since you've provided me with the clues, I'll give it a try, Yi Tianyun said as he immediately walked towards the great array of gods. The Heavenly Tiger Patriarch and the others couldn't stop him even if they wanted to. Yi Tianyun had already entered the formation of gods. As soon as he entered, the formation spirits appeared again. They were all star venerables in the late stage. Even grand star venerables might not be able to resist their joint attack. This time, their hearts immediately rose to their throats. Not to mention them, even Yi Tianyun felt nervous. When he took a few steps inside, he found that the formation spirits were staring at him and didn't move. He was relieved. It seemed the clues he had provided were correct. Then Yi Tianyun walked inside according to the map. He really walked to the exit on the opposite side. As soon as he walked out, the formation spirits disappeared, as if they hadn't entered the formation of gods. Chapter 2136. Following the footwork that Scarlet Wolf Chief and the others provided, they easily passed through the formation of the gods. What a pleasant surprise! Who would have thought that they would get it from another tribe and not from Sky Tiger Chief's side? What a joke! Soon, the other chiefs and elders followed the footwork and passed through the formation of the gods, arriving at the other end perfectly. We're finally here. I thought that we wouldn't be able to make it. If we had tried bit by bit, we would have died. Ghana Chief shook his head. While he hadn't seen the 4 formation spirits attack, once they did, they would definitely be blasted to smithereens. Sky Tiger Chief, you said that you knew the most, but in the end, you still don't know? Scarlet Wolf Chief and the others rolled their eyes at Sky Tiger Chief. He didn't care about their information, but now he was using their information to come over. There are some gaps in this, no choice. I didn't think that the information you have would match up. Sky Tiger Chief scratched his head and smiled. He had been too confident before, causing him to be slapped in the face. Tempach, although our ancestor wasn't Divine General Azure Tiger, he was still one of his companions. There are still some records of him. While it isn't complete, if we piece it all together, it might be useful. Scarlet Wolf Chief took out all the records and spread them out. Come, compare the information and perfect it, in case something happens later on. Okay. The Heavenly Tiger Patriarch didn't say much this time and began to piece together the information to see if he could piece together some of the information later. After putting it together for a while, the general information was pieced together. It's still not complete, but at least there are a few places that look more complete. Sky Tiger Chief and the others felt that there shouldn't be any problems after piecing it together for a while. They could find most of the treasuries. But there were still many gaps that they couldn't find. This meant that they had many areas that they had to slowly explore and solve themselves. One had to say that it was quite stressful. This is difficult, there are still so many gaps. We will need to spend a lot of effort to reach our destination. They smiled bitterly. Although they were prepared, they didn't expect that there would be so many gaps. It had to be said that this would cause them great trouble. There are a lot of vacancies, but we can only bite the bullet and go in. We can't just leave the treasury alone, can we? Yi Tianyun shook his head and said, let's go. We'll take it one step at a time and go as deep as we can. All right. They nodded heavily. Then, they continued to move forward. Soon, they saw another large array. Fortunately, the records were more complete, and they knew how to pass through it. Along the way, they were able to pass through quite a few areas. This was all thanks to the various patriarchs providing the corresponding information and piecing them together to form a smooth path. Halfway through, there was finally an empty area, 5 stone statues. 5 stone statues stood tall in the surroundings. They didn't need to enter to know that if they trespassed, they would face the fierce attacks of the 5 stone statues. How do we clear this stage? There doesn't seem to be any records. Heavenly Tiger Patriarch and the others were incomparably vexed. They kept flipping through the records, but they couldn't find any information at all. After searching for a long time, they couldn't find any relevant content. How about we give it a try with a few drops of essence blood? The Heavenly Tiger Patriarch scratched his head. In the end, he still chose this method. They couldn't think of any other way, nor did they know how to do it. The stages would get more and more difficult. That was for sure. The 5 stone statues must have high cultivation levels. They must be at least in the late stage of Star Venerable Realm. Let's give it a try. Yi Tianyun gestured to the Heavenly Tiger Patriarch to give him a drop of essence blood. Sir, you do it. The Heavenly Tiger Patriarch said after thinking, how about I do it? No need. I'll do it, Yi Tianyun said firmly. All right. The Heavenly Tiger Patriarch gave him a drop of essence blood. After finishing, Yi Tianyun immediately lifted his foot and walked inside. As soon as he stepped inside, the 5 statues immediately came to life. The thick layer of dust on their body was quickly shaken off, and then 5 huge statues came down from the top. All of them were Cyan Tiger War General. They were all covered in thick cyan fur. They were all powerful warriors of the Heavenly Tiger tribe. One could even sense the energy of Cyan Tiger Divine General from them. Cyan Tiger Divine General must have given them some of his essence blood, which could give them excellent power. Intruder. Die. The 5 huge statues issued a warning roar to Yi Tianyun, which was deafening to the ears. Sir, come back. The Heavenly Tiger Patriarch and the others were startled. They wanted Yi Tianyun to come back quickly. Yi Tianyun stepped back quickly. As soon as he stepped back, the 5 statues stopped moving. But they were still sizing them up. As long as they kept coming in, they would be attacked fiercely. Darn it. The essence blood is useless. How can we get rid of them? The Heavenly Tiger Patriarch and the others frowned. They kept thinking of ways to get rid of them. 5 statues with the essence blood of Cyan Tiger Divine General were no joke. Yi Tianyun can feel the dangerous aura coming from it. Cyan Tiger Divine General was really powerful. The statues made with his essence blood were certainly not weak. Even though many years had passed, they were still in the late stage of star venerable realm. If they worked together, they could even kill ordinary grand star venerables. While they were thinking hard, Yi Tianyun said calmly, "Don't think too much. Let's just fight. Let's give them a good fight. Lord, these are statues with Cyan Tiger Divine General's essence blood. It's not a joke." They tried to dissuade him. "Let's think about it and see if there is any other way." "Think? How long do you need to think about it?" Yi Tianyun asked. I'm not sure." They smiled awkwardly. They said they would think about it, but they did not know where to start. "It's fine if you don't know. Dragons can't be without a leader. We should take care of them quickly. We can't stay in the tribe for a long time. Without the patriarch, problems will arise." Yi Tianyun said calmly, "Think about it carefully. I'll try it myself. Tell me when you figure it out." They opened their mouths. What he said was true. They really could not stay here forever. Even if they could solve the puzzle in several hundred years, it would take too long. They could not stay outside for that long. "Lord, let me help you." The Ghana patriarch and the others stepped forward. They did not want to think about it anymore. They could not figure it out, either. They could only try it with Yi Tianyun. Chapter 21:37. Yi Tianyun has always preferred a simple and crude way of doing things. He is really not good at this kind of roundabout thing. "Let's go." Yi Tianyun didn't waste any time. He held the long moon azure dragon blade and dashed inside. As soon as he stepped inside, the 5 statues started moving and dashed toward him. "Your Excellency, we are here to help you." The Ghana tribe's master and the others used all of their skills to summon their strongest star Dharma images to help them resist the 5 statues. They were a group of people, and they all used their strongest moves. They didn't dare hold anything back. Buzz! Beams of divine light shot out from their hands, blasting towards the 5 statues. They wanted to blast these statues away. If they gathered together, they would definitely be finished. Intruders! Die! These green tiger statues let out a roar and pounced over. Their razor-sharp claws were like galaxy-grade weapons, tearing at Lin Fan's group. It easily tore the incoming attacks into motes of light. The terrifying power caused their expressions to change. They had used their strongest moves. How could they have cracked them so easily? However, their attacks were still useful. At least, they could stop the statues for a second. Scatter! Yi Tianyun took advantage of this opportunity to sweep the long moon azure dragon blade forward. The sharp blade radiance spread in all directions and blasted the 5 statues away. The extreme blade radiance only left faint marks on their bodies. The attack, which could easily cut a star venerable beast into 2 pieces, didn't seem to have any effect on them. Yi Tianyun wasn't surprised. If those statues could be cut into 2 pieces easily, they wouldn't be qualified to be guards here. Azure Dragon Continuous Break. At this moment, Yi Tianyun's eyes burst with a sharp light, aimed at one of the statues, and crazily slashed down. His whole body turned into a huge azure dragon, continuously slashing down on the statue. Clang! Clang! When the long moon azure dragon saber struck the statue, it let out an ear-piercing sound that made people's eardrums hurt. However, the continuous slashes only left a slightly deeper mark on the surface. However, Yi Tianyun did not stop his ferocious attacks. Instead, he continued to madly slash. "It's really too hard. The materials used to create these guys must be at least galaxy grade. I can't even cut through it." Yi Tianyun had already used all his strength, but the effect was minimal. It seemed like he couldn't use force even if he wanted to. Just as he was about to retreat, the statue suddenly stopped moving. After pausing for a moment, it turned around and returned to its original position, no longer attacking. Only this statue left. The others did not leave and were still entangled with the Crimson Wolf Patriarch and the others. There's such a method. Yi Tianyun's eyes lit up. Although he didn't know what it meant, he continued to attack the other statues. After a few hits, he returned to his original position and stopped attacking. After realizing this, Yi Tianyun once again attacked the other statues. The other patriarchs also noticed the situation and were delighted. With 2 less statues, the pressure on them was greatly reduced. Yi Tianyun did the same and continued to hit the other 3 statues back to their original positions. They were definitely fine, but they still returned to their original positions. Done. Yi Tianyun took a deep breath. He had to admit that these guys were too hard. Fortunately, he had the help of the other patriarchs. Otherwise, it would have been really difficult to deal with them. With the help of the other patriarchs, he could have extra energy to deal with one of the statues and end the battle faster. What's going on? They returned to their original positions after being attacked. We also attacked them just now, but why didn't it have this effect? I suspect that it should be the problem with the Long Moon Azure Dragon Blade. After being attacked by the Long Moon Azure Dragon Blade, they should have felt the power and quickly retreated. Could it be that I have to attack them with the Long Moon Azure Dragon Saber in order to pass this level and not use other methods? After some speculations, they felt that they had to use the Long Moon Azure Dragon Blade to pass this level. They didn't need to defeat them. They just needed to hit them. If that was the case, the difficulty wouldn't be small. That should be the case. I felt that when I hit them, they immediately stopped. The main thing is that the Long Moon Azure Dragon Blade's effect has been weakened. If they were at their peak, they definitely wouldn't have been so slow. I reckon that I would only need to touch them for a while and it would be over. Yi Tianyun's hand went numb. He had to admit that they were really too hard. This is really a test. Even if they're on our side, they still have to play like this. The Sky Tiger Patriarch wiped his cold sweat. If he had a lower cultivation, wouldn't he have been tortured to death? Alright, it's good enough that we can pass. Yi Tianyun continued to walk forward. He looked up at the statues and realized that they were all looking at him. It seemed that they had acknowledged him. They continued to walk forward and easily passed the next level. There was still information at the back. After passing through several levels, they finally arrived at the last level, the central control altar. At this point, it was considered over. Although they didn't reach the deepest region of the treasury, they had to control this place if they wanted to be safe. Otherwise, if they triggered other mechanisms, it would really be fatal. We're finally here. The journey was really tough. The treasury that our ancestors left for us is basically killing us. The Sky Tiger Patriarch wiped his cold sweat. Thinking back to the areas they had passed through, it had to be said that the difficulty was really high. Luckily, they all had a way to pass. If it was any other invader, they would have been sliced into pieces. There were really too many levels. They were all exhausted just to get here. We can only say that we didn't take care of it properly and lost the method passed down by our ancestors. If we didn't lose it, it would be really easy to come in. The Ghana chief shook his head and sighed. The changes of time had led to the decline of their tribe. It was already not bad that they were able to live until now. Lord, insert the Long Moon Azure Dragon Blade into the control panel. This should be the end. The Sky Tiger Patriarch gestured. Yi Tianyun nodded and walked over to the control panel with the Long Moon Azure Dragon Blade. The moment he stepped on the control panel, the ground rumbled. In the blink of an eye, the control panel under his feet appeared and turned into a huge green tiger statue. Divine General Green Tiger, Chapter 2138. They hadn't expected the control panel to suddenly transform into a giant statue of Azure Tiger Divine General. However, it didn't attack immediately. Instead, it stood up and looked down at them. After so many years, a junior has finally come with the Azure Dragon Saber to open the Azure Tiger Divine Palace. It looks like the situation outside hasn't worsened as quickly as I thought. Azure Tiger Divine General spoke slowly. Without a doubt, it was just a memory left behind here, not the real Azure Tiger Divine General. It didn't know the situation outside at all, which was why it said such a thing. It wasn't that the situation hadn't worsened, but that it had always been occupied and couldn't be obtained. But since it's here, it means that the situation outside is starting to worsen. Giant beasts might attack again, or other invaders might attack. I can't help you with all these unknown factors. Azure Tiger Divine General continued, there aren't many treasures left in this divine palace. After the battle back then, it was too heavily depleted, and there are too few things left. However, There are still quite a few treasures left for you, enough to last you for a while. Most importantly, you can use all the resources here. All the statues and formations here can deal with some external enemies, but they are still inanimate objects. But in the end, these are inanimate objects. If I want to truly protect myself, I have to become stronger. Otherwise, everything will be empty talk. The Sky Tiger Patriarch and the others quickly knelt down and shouted, "Greetings, Ancestor." They knew that these were statues. Even if they attacked like this, they still wouldn't know what they were doing. This was a form of respect for their ancestor. It didn't matter if the statue was real or not. It was just like the statues they had placed in the divine palace. They didn't have souls, and they didn't move, but they were still very respectful. Although you've worked hard to get here, you won't be able to control this place without going through some tests. Azure Tiger Divine General completely ignored them and continued to explain. There's a test. They immediately collapsed. After going through so many tests, they thought that Azure Tiger Divine General was just going to say a few words. Who knew that there really was a test? Wasn't this a little too much? Azure Tiger Divine General ignored their expressions and continued to explain, "There's a control panel behind me. All you need to do is insert the Azure Dragon Saber into it. I won't take the initiative to attack. I'll just keep dodging until you insert the Azure Dragon Saber." Azure Tiger Divine General sat down and gestured for them to attack. That's pretty simple. They glanced at each other. Fortunately, he wasn't going to beat them up. Otherwise, they really wouldn't be able to resist. I don't think it's that simple. Yi Tianyun looked up and down at this burly body. It looked huge and not very agile, but that was only on the surface. The real situation was definitely not that simple. The checkpoints would definitely get harder as they progressed. If this checkpoint was going to be easy, then it would be too easy for them. He raised the Long Moon Azure Dragon Saber and rushed forward, but as soon as he got close to the Azure Tiger Divine General, Yi Tianyun immediately made his move. The Azure Tiger Divine General statue's figure flickered, dodging to the side at an astonishing speed. He hadn't even touched it yet, but it was already hiding in a corner. So fast. Yi Tianyun descended from the sky. His speed was really shocking, much faster than the other statues. How could an ordinary star venerable achieve such a speed? Even some ordinary Grand Star venerables might not be able to achieve such a speed. Speed is the specialty of the Heavenly Tiger Tribe. "Sir, let me have a try." The Heavenly Tiger Tribe's master stepped forward. This time, he wanted to save some face, so he asked Yi Tianyun to let him have a try with the Long Moon Azure Dragon Saber. Okay. Yi Tianyun handed the Long Moon Azure Dragon Saber to him when he saw how confident he was. The Heavenly Tiger Tribe's master grabbed the Long Moon Azure Dragon Saber and glanced at the Red Wolf Tribe's master. "Watch me this time. I didn't do a good job before, but I'm sure I can complete the task this time." Then the Heavenly Tiger Tribe's master exerted his specialty. The Star Dharma idol burst out, and his body turned into the shape of an azure tiger. He was as sharp as the previous statues. Go! The Heavenly Tiger Tribe's master pounced at an astonishing speed. He turned into a beam of azure light and dashed forward. It's done. The Heavenly Tiger Tribe's master stabbed the Long Moon Azure Dragon Saber into the back of the Azure Tiger Tribe's Divine General. As long as he stabbed the Long Moon Azure Dragon Saber, it would be over. However, before he could get close, the Azure Tiger Tribe's master disappeared and dodged to the side. I knew he would keep dodging. The Heavenly Tiger Tribe's master already knew the pattern. He stepped into the air and spun rapidly in midair, pouncing toward the Azure Tiger Tribe's master. At the same time, the Long Moon Azure Dragon Saber in the Heavenly Tiger Tribe's master's hand stabbed toward the control panel. Just a little bit more, the Azure Tiger Tribe's master sped up again and easily dodged the attack. Again, the Heavenly Tiger Tribe's master stepped into the air again and chased after the Azure Tiger Tribe's master. However, this time, he couldn't catch up no matter how hard he tried. He was still a little bit away. After a long chase, he finally gave up. He couldn't catch up at all. He was still a little bit away. Even if he used everything he had, he was still a little bit away. I give up. The Heavenly Tiger Tribe's master panted. He had chased for so long, but he still couldn't catch up. Instead, he was exhausted. Ha ha ha, Heavenly Tiger Tribe's master, didn't you say you could catch up? The Red Wolf Tribe's master teased. Now, you still can't catch up. If you have the ability, why don't you try? You're really too fast. I can't catch up. The Heavenly Tiger Tribe's master glared at him. Sure, I'll try. I'm definitely faster than you. The Red Wolf Tribe's master took the long moon Azure Dragon Saber and immediately chased after Divine General Azure Tiger. The result was no different. He was still left far behind. Haha, you're still laughing at me. Aren't you also unable to succeed? The Heavenly Tiger Tribe's master laughed when he saw the Red Wolf Tribe's master's sorry state. The Geo Tribe's master and the others shook their heads. They didn't try. They believed that their speed was inferior to the Heavenly Tiger Tribe's master and the Red Wolf Tribe's master. If even they couldn't succeed, then they definitely wouldn't succeed. This is going to be difficult. Why don't we trap it together? Maybe we can succeed. No, if we really do that, we'll definitely be attacked by Divine General Azure Tiger. We can only try it alone. It'll be different if there's more. They shook their heads and fell into deep thought. Let me do it, Yi Tianyun said. Sir, didn't you say you couldn't catch up? They asked. When did I say I couldn't catch up? Yi Tianyun looked at them and said. Weren't you unable to catch up just now? I'm just giving it a try. I didn't use my full strength. But you let me try with the long moon Azure Dragon Saber. You wanted to try, so why wouldn't I give it to you? Chapter 2139. Yi Tianyun's words made them feel a little awkward, especially the Sky Tiger tribe leader. He had thought that Yi Tianyun wouldn't be able to succeed, so he had to do it. Who knew that Yi Tianyun wouldn't even use his full strength? Sir, you should have said so earlier. That way, I wouldn't have to embarrass myself in front of you. The Sky Tiger tribe leader scratched his head awkwardly. That's an exaggeration. You almost succeeded. That's quite amazing. Looks like you Sky Tigers are quite talented in speed. If you continue to develop in this area, you'll definitely reach a higher level. Yi Tianyun had done this because he wanted to see their abilities. It would be best if they could help him get rid of it. At the same time, he wanted to observe the statue's situation. It seemed that its speed was quite shocking. It wasn't something that could be stopped with normal speed. If more people could help, they would definitely be able to control its speed. However, they couldn't do that now. Although Azure Tiger Divine General hadn't said so, they could sense from the aura coming from the Azure Tiger Divine General's statue that they couldn't move as a group. If they really came at will, they could easily deal with this. Thank you for your praise, but no matter how fast I am, I still can't complete the mission. The Sky Tiger tribe leader was dejected. There was no point in praising him. Don't be discouraged. You can do it in the future. Yi Tianyun smiled and patted him on the shoulder. I'll give it a try. Maybe I won't be able to catch up with the Green Tiger Divine General statue even if I use all my strength. That's not possible, right? The Sky Tiger tribe leader thought that Yi Tianyun should be able to catch up. After all, Yi Tianyun's strength wasn't weak. Nothing's impossible. Let me try first. Yi Tianyun took the long moon Azure Dragon Saber, and with a leap, he turned into a lightning and sprinted forward. In the blink of an eye, he was already in front of the Azure Tiger Divine General statue. Then, he raised the everlasting moon Azure Dragon Saber and stabbed it into the opening. He was much faster than before. The Azure Tiger Divine General statue's figure flickered as it dodged to the side, its speed equally astonishing. However, his speed was not much faster than before. It was still the same speed as before, which was the speed he was forced to by the Heavenly Tiger Clan chief and the others. It was still the same speed, without any change. This should be the highest speed of the Divine General Cyan Tiger statue, but it was still much faster than ordinary Star Venerables. Now, Yi Tianyun's arm was already completely red. His entire arm bulged up from the accumulation of power, and then he aimed at the back of the Azure Tiger Divine General statue and threw it fiercely, concentrating all of his strength into this throw. Shio! The long moon Azure Dragon Saber that was thrown out turned into a bolt of lightning and accurately hit the insertion hole. It directly sank into the innermost part and made a dang sound before it was completely fixed on the control panel. Rumble. The Cyan Tiger Divine General statue immediately froze. Then, it slowly crouched down and turned back into the control panel. Not bad. Shocking speed. The younger generation will surpass us in time. Fortunately, you didn't gang up on me. Otherwise, I would have taught you what it means to suffer. After the statue had crouched down, it continued, I will leave the rest to you. Make good use of the resources here and resist the intruders. Then, the whole hall became quiet again. That works. The Heavenly Tiger Clan's chief and the others were shocked. They had never thought they could do that. They weren't fast enough, but if they threw it fiercely, the speed would still increase by a shocking amount. Yi Tianyun took advantage of this and controlled the Cyan Tiger Divine General statue in just one round. It was too easy for him to do so. They recalled how they had chased after the statue stupidly and tried to stab the long moon azure dragon saber into it every time, but they had missed it every time. However, Yi Tianyun had taken it down in an unconventional way, which made them feel like they couldn't think of a way around it. Of course it works. Did anyone say it couldn't? Yi Tianyun shrugged. No one said it couldn't. They looked at each other. If it were them, they would have done the same thing, but they had never thought of it that way. Don't worry about it. Let's take a look at the control panel. Yi Tianyun smiled and went to the control panel. He grabbed the long moon azure dragon saber and probed it with his spiritual awareness. That was the only way he could control the whole treasury. After a careful examination, his eyes widened. There's really only one exit to the treasury, and that's the main entrance. Now the treasury is surrounded by giant beasts, and there are no less than a dozen star venerables among them. And there's even a giant beast at the Great Star Venerable Realm. Is it a giant divine beast? But it doesn't seem to be a giant divine beast. Let me take a look. I've seen a giant divine beast before. The Ghana tribe's master's face fell. He quickly went to the control panel and grabbed the long moon azure dragon saber. He also extended his spiritual awareness. The Ghana tribe's master and the others all had the corresponding bloodlines, so they could all use the long moon azure dragon saber. However, in terms of effect, it was Yi Tianyun who used it perfectly. After a careful examination, the Ghana tribe's master shook his head and said, it's not a giant divine beast. It should be a giant beast under the giant divine beast. It has been so many years, so it's impossible that there hasn't been a second Grand Star Venerable Beast. This time, they are really angry. They want to trap us here until we die. The others also came over to take a look. They wanted to see what was going on outside. After examining it, they all wore a grave expression. This wasn't something that could be solved easily. There was only one entrance, which meant that if they wanted to go out, they would have to go through many layers of encirclement. It was easy to imagine how dangerous it was. We can use the Great Formation and statue in the treasury to suppress them, the Heaven Tiger tribe's master suggested. This isn't a bad suggestion. However, the treasury's situation isn't ideal. The statue and the Great Formation are only effective against Star Venerables. They aren't very effective against Grand Star Venerables. If we were at our peak. The Ghana tribe's master shook his head and said, it's a pity that our attainments in star patterns are still too low. We can't repair this place completely. If they repaired it completely, even a Grand Star Venerable would be killed instantly. This was what it meant by treasures and experts. They couldn't withstand the ravages of time. I have a way to deal with this. However, before that, let me check what's in the treasury. Yi Tianyun was quite calm. He had already set up a teleportation point in the tribe. He had the Super Teleportation Divine Stone, so he could easily teleport there without fear of restrictions. However, he didn't want to use the Super Teleportation Divine Stone if he had no other choice. It would be a waste. He just wanted to see if there were any divine medicines like the 10,000 Emperor Flower. This way, after he raised his cultivation level, he could go on a killing spree. Chapter 2140. When the crowd saw Yi Tianyun's confidence, they did not know why Yi Tianyun was so confident. However, since he had said so, they did not think too much about it. In any case, to them, following Yi Tianyun was enough. Then, they quickly went into the treasury and began to search for various treasures. Once they had control over the treasury, they could open any area in the treasury. Hence, opening the doors of the treasury was even easier. Yi Tianyun went directly to the elixir room and the miracle room alone. These were the treasuries that stored the miracle medicine. His goal here was the miracle medicine. The other treasures could be put aside for the time being. As for the other clan leaders and the others, they went to look for other treasures. They wanted to see what treasures were here so that they could take out all the treasures and see how they would distribute them. They were currently short of resources, especially treasures related to weapons, which were even rarer. It was not that the giant divine beast territory was short of resources. The precious resources were all controlled by the giant divine beasts. Hence, these materials were not easy to obtain. It was definitely not something that could be solved by killing one or two giant divine beasts. The more precious the materials, the more giant divine beasts would protect them. Their cultivation would also be higher. Hence, it was not that they did not want the materials, but if they fought with the giant divine beasts, there was a possibility that some of them would die. This was undoubtedly not worth it. They already had a small number of people. If some of them died, it would be even more of a loss. Hence, their resources became very limited. There were very few high-quality weapons. Some of them even had to take turns using them. It was really tragic. Now that they entered the treasury, their eyes lit up. It would be great if they could find a large number of treasures. On the other side, Yi Tianyun had already arrived at the elixir room to look for the elixir room. After passing through the doors of the treasury, he saw piles of elixir rooms. The elixir rooms were all labeled. Yi Tianyun glanced over and murmured, "I hope I can find the Emperor Flower." The Emperor Flower could help him increase the level of his Star Dharma power. It was the most important thing, so he naturally needed it. Although the other godly medicines had similar effects, the 10,000 Emperor Flower was the best. Without the 1,000 Emperor Flower, they would have come for nothing. Of course, this wasn't a complete waste of time. He would still be able to obtain quite a few treasures. However, if he failed to obtain the myriad Emperor Flower, it would mean that he would have to search elsewhere. Needless to say, it was truly a waste of time. Correspondingly, he couldn't kill his way out and kill the giant beasts outside. If one's cultivation was not high enough, one would not be able to face a Grand Star Venerate. This was especially so for a Grand Star Venerate of a colossal beast. After looking around with hope, he finally found the pill he needed, the Myriad Emperor Pill. The Myriad Emperor Pill was refined from the Myriad Emperor Flower and supplemented with other decent spirit herbs. It was even more amazing than the pill refined from the Myriad Emperor Flower alone. Great! There really is a Myriad Sovereign Pill. Yi Tianyun was overjoyed. He thought it wasn't there, but he still found it here, and in a corner. As expected of a treasure vault, there were still pills of this type. The Myriad Emperor Flower was still of a lower tier, but there were still pills of a higher tier. Yi Tianyun looked around and found that most of them were pills of a higher tier. However, to him, these medicinal pills had almost no effect. They were all medicinal pills for cultivation or for healing. It wasn't that these pills were bad, but they were of no use to him. For example, pills for cultivation were of no use to him. If he consumed them, he would obtain very little star energy. They were not even as much as the star energy he obtained from killing some of the giant beasts. Unless he had an astonishing number of pills, he would be like a hungry tiger. No matter how much he ate, he wouldn't be able to satiate himself. After finding the Myriad Emperor Pill, he immediately found a cultivation room and went into seclusion to consume it. Right now, he urgently needed to raise his astral aspect to level 4. Only then would he be able to break through and become a Grand Star Venerable. I hope this Myriad Emperor Pill can help me break through to level 4. If it doesn't work, then I'll have to look for more Myriad Emperor Flowers. There was only one Myriad Emperor Pill in such a huge treasure vault. It wasn't rare, but since it was used in large quantities, there weren't many left. In Divine General Qing Hu's generation, it was used more often. They all needed to quickly nurture Grand Star Venerables to strengthen their faction. Because of this, the number of pills used was high, and there weren't many choices. As a result, Myriad Emperor Pills were rare. There were many other cultivation pills, and all kinds of divine medicines could help increase one's cultivation. Only the myriad emperor flower was needed to raise his astral aspect to level 4. Even though there were other divine medicines to replace it, the myriad emperor flower was still the main ingredient. There were only a few star venerables on the desolate dragon planet, and they didn't know that such a divine medicine was needed to reach a higher level. Yi Tianyun didn't think too much about it. He quickly swallowed the myriad emperor pill and went into seclusion to cultivate. He didn't care about what was going on outside. At the same time, outside, the Jiao family's chief and the others were searching for treasures like crazy. They had emptied the treasure vault. They couldn't move the treasure vault, so they could only move the treasures first. It's really profitable. There are so many treasures. They can definitely help our tribe reach a higher level. That's right. Divine General Qing, who said he didn't leave many treasures behind. He was really modest. Actually, Divine General Qing who was right. He didn't leave many treasures behind. Maybe the treasures we have now are less than 10% of what we had at our peak. The peak of our era, they couldn't help but sigh. They knew some things about the past from the records. When they had been at their peak, there had been countless experts. However, many experts had died because of the giant beasts' attacks. The peak of their era had declined quickly. The era that had belonged to them had suddenly changed. Fortunately, it hadn't been occupied by the giant beasts, which was a good result. While they were reminiscing, a rumbling sound suddenly came from outside. The whole treasure vault was shaking. What's going on? Their expressions changed. They quickly went to the control panel to check the situation. Soon, they discovered that one part of the divine palace had been broken through. Many giant beasts had entered through the gap. As time elapsed, the divine palace had been attacked fiercely, and some parts of it had become weaker. Under the fierce attacks, it had finally been broken through. Fortunately, it was just one area. Most areas were still fine. Chapter 2141. The shrine has been breached. How did they do it? Crimson Wolf Patriarch's face darkened when he saw the situation. Although they had taken away the treasures, they did not want to see the shrine be tarnished by the giant beasts. They must have kept destroying the defensive formation and attacked from underground. They must have found the weakest point and kept attacking until it was breached. Sky Tiger Patriarch's expression turned cold. If this continues, they will gradually break through the shrine and kill their way in. Looks like they have been destroying the shrine all along. They can't find the key to open it, so they can only enter through the destruction shrine. The shrine was not truly invincible. There were still some areas that were relatively weak. The other party used this point and started to destroy crazily. Finally, they broke through at this time. The inside of the shrine was not as hard as the outside. The inside was relatively weaker. Of course, no matter how weak it was, they could not do as they pleased. There were still many guard statues here. They could not let the giant beasts run around casually, especially when there were many formations. If they walked around casually, they would definitely die. Should we inform the Lord? Crimson Wolf Patriarch asked. No need. The Lord has already gone into seclusion. We will not disturb him during his seclusion. We can make good use of the shrine to exterminate these invaders. Jiao Na Patriarch and the others nodded. They could not always rely on Yi Tianyun. Moreover, they were the patriarchs and knew what to do. If they did not even know what to do, they would be letting down their patriarchs. After finalizing the plan, they quickly started to activate the formation and sent out the guard statues to rush towards the broken hole. With the long moon azure dragon saber here, they could easily control everything in the shrine. Therefore, even without Yi Tianyun here, they could still control it. Unless the treasury was completely bound to one person, they could control it at will. At the bottom of the shrine, the giant beasts continued to charge in crazily after they rushed in. There was no technique involved in their destruction, and they did not break the formation by destroying the eye of the formation. They were just simply smashing their way through. This was the style of the giant beasts. They could only do this. No giant beast would carve any star runes. It was purely a mad dash. Whenever it was smashed, it would be the time to charge in. This kind of impudence was very crude, but the effect was very obvious. The entire temple shook from the impact, and the star patterns on its surface flickered, as if it would collapse at any moment. The divine hall had been maintained for so long that the star patterns had gradually weakened. Without anyone to maintain it, it had become like this. It was impossible for a star pattern great array to exist forever without diminishing its effects. At most, it could only be maintained for a little longer. It was impossible for anyone to maintain it forever. Only when there were people constantly maintaining and protecting it could it continue to exist. Raw. Groups of Starvenerate level beasts charged in. Every time they charged, they contained the strength of a strong Starvenerate level beast. They could not be casually blocked. When they collided, the floor suddenly flashed with an astonishing light. Countless light blades shot out and cut them into countless pieces. Blood splashed all over the room, making it look rather bloody. No matter how thick the skin of a strong Starvenerate beast was, it could not block this horrifying saber light. In an instant, all the giant beasts here were killed. Correspondingly, the effect of the large formation here began to rapidly dim. If they wanted to launch another attack, they would have to accumulate power again. There were too many giant beasts charging in, and the energy consumed to keep shooting the saber light blades was astonishing. It would take a long time to replenish it. Raw. Another group of giant beasts charged in. They were not afraid of death at all. They charged at the wall again, and the divine hall started to shake. However, the large formation could not launch an attack at that moment. They could only watch the giant beasts continue to destroy the divine hall. When they thought everything would go smoothly, the gate suddenly opened. 7 or 8 statues came out and started to attack them. They almost killed one beast with one punch. Those were statues in the late stage of the Star Venerable realm. How could they be weak? They could kill those giant beasts with one punch. Raw. The Starvenerate level giant beasts charged in immediately and started to fight with the statues. For a time, it was hard to tell who would win, and the fight ended in a draw. The statues were just statues. They were not real practitioners, so the power they could control was very limited. Although the Star Venerable beasts did not know any top moves, their dreadful brute force could knock over everything. Dong, dong, dong. The statues were knocked over one after another. In a head-on collision, the statues were not a match for the Star Venerable beasts. One was an inanimate object, while the other was a living one. They were certainly different. After the statues were knocked away, they only dented a little under the fierce attacks. It was not a big problem. But their fighting power started to decline. If the statues were slightly damaged, their power would decrease. However, soon, the gate opened again. A large group of statue guards came out again. They were all in the late stage of the Star Venerable realm. When such a large group of statue guards came out, the situation became more and more oppressive. The statues started to beat the Star Venerable beasts. They kept retreating. Some of the Star Venerable beasts were even killed. Although it took them a lot of effort, they were still able to kill them. These statue guards are really powerful. Each one is harder than the last. Even if they hit us, the damage would be limited. The Ghana tribe's chieftain and others were excited when they saw the situation. This was the effect of the divine hall. With a large number of guards, they could kill many giant beasts if they went out in waves to fight with them. When they thought they could drive the giant beasts out, a giant figure suddenly dashed in from outside the divine hall and stomped on it. Boom! The whole divine hall started to shake. Several statue guards were stomped on the ground and flattened. Even the hard statues were dented by the stomp. The statue guards were not dead, but they could not move after being stomped on. It would take a long time for them to recover. It's the Star Venerable beast. Their expressions changed. Those statues were strong, but their overall power was not enough to defeat the Star Venerable beasts. While the divine hall was in chaos, the situation inside Yi Tianyun's body started to improve quickly. He was only a little bit away from a breakthrough. Just a little bit more, and I will be able to advance to a higher level. Hurry up, hurry up. Chapter 2142. Yi Tianyun could feel the shrine shaking violently. He knew something must have happened down there, and it must be a chaotic situation. But he could not stop here. He had to hold on until he reached the level 4-star Dharma idol. Besides, they were the only ones in the shrine. There was no one else. So, even if the shrine was destroyed, it would not be a great loss. The most important thing was to keep the people alive. He had to break through now. Only by breaking through and becoming a real powerhouse could he resist those giant beasts. If he stopped breaking through now, although he could go down and solve some problems, it would only be a temporary solution. It would not be a permanent solution. When he reached the Grand Star Venerable Realm, it would be a permanent solution. Even if he could not kill the giant divine beasts, he would at least be able to resist them and not be trapped there. You must hold on. I'm almost there. Yi Tianyun increased his power. He was only a little bit away from breaking through. While he was focusing on breaking through, the people down there were also focusing on dealing with the giant beasts. However, the guardian statues sent out were easily crushed by the Grand Star Venerable beasts, as if they were made of paper. Basically, they would flatten everything that came their way. Even if they couldn't completely destroy the guardian statues, it was not a problem to beat them until they couldn't get up. This Grand Star Venerable beast is really heaven-defying. Such a hard guardian statue was crushed easily. If it were not for the good material, it would have been crushed. When they checked the situation down there, their faces became gloomy. They did not dare send more guardian statues down there. The number of guardian statues they sent out was the same. Some of them were not crushed at first, so they were stepped on several times until they could not move anymore. Fortunately, the guardian statues were not completely destroyed. They only needed to repair them, and then they could be used again. However, they did not have the ability to repair them. They could only take them back and repair them when they were strong enough. After they were repaired, the guardian statues in the late star venerable level were quite powerful. If their levels were higher, these guardian statues could even reach the Grand Star Venerable level. Of course, these Grand Star Venerable level statues did not really have the power of a Grand Star Venerable. They could not use the Grand Star Venerate's absolute command law. However, they possessed the power of an ordinary Grand Star Venerate, and their might was still shocking. Stop for now. Don't send them out. We don't have many guardian statues left, the Ghana Patriarch said in a deep voice. They all nodded in agreement. The guardian statues were no longer released. Without the obstruction of the guardian statues, the giant beasts began to crazily attack the temple again and again. The Supreme Star Venerate beast also charged forward. Every time it collided with the wall, a crack would appear on the wall. It seemed like it wouldn't take long for the wall to be completely destroyed. Sure enough, after the temple was destroyed, the interior was easier to destroy. I'm done accumulating energy. Activate the light blade formation again. The Heavenly Tiger Patriarch once again used the light blade formation. As the floor flickered, countless light blades were unleashed once again. In an instant, the whole house was filled with those light blades. Wherever they went, there would be blood and flesh everywhere. Even the Supreme Star Venerable beasts were injured by those light blades. Some of them were even cut into pieces. However, they did not die. As long as their souls were not completely destroyed, they would be able to recover their bodies quickly, just like cultivators. There were some losses, but at least they were not like the previous Star Lords, who could kill them in one move. Raw. The most shocking thing was the Grand Star Venerable Beast. It had suffered the most attacks from the light blades. Its body was a bloody mess, but it had not been cut into many pieces. At most, its wounds seemed to be slightly deeper, but it was completely fine. This was the defense of a Supreme Star Venerable Beast. It was so strong that it could not be injured. If it had been an ordinary Supreme Star Venerable, they would have been injured even if they did not die after being attacked by so many light blades. However, the Supreme Star Venerable Beast was fine. It was only slightly injured, which was enough to prove how dreadful it was. Not only was the Supreme Star Venerable Beast fine, but it was also infuriated. As it roared, the wounds on the Supreme Star Venerable Beast's body healed quickly. Then it started to crazily hit the wall. After 2 or 3 hits, many cracks appeared on the wall. It looked extremely fragile. Boom. As expected, The wall could not bear such a violent hit any longer. It collapsed right away. What a dreadful power! They were all stunned. The powerful light blades had not only failed to kill the Supreme Star Venerable Beast, but they had also infuriated it. After a series of collisions, another layer of the wall was broken. It's okay. It can hold on for a while. There are many walls in the temple. We can continue to use the great formation inside to exhaust the Supreme Star Venerable Beast. They believed they could exhaust the Supreme Star Venerable Beast bit by bit. How could they not kill it with so many great formations? Dong. While they were discussing, the ground shook again. They checked, and their expressions changed. The walls of the second room were covered with cracks after just one hit. It was not because the defensive formation on the wall had weakened. It was because the Supreme Star Venerable Beast was completely infuriated. It wanted to smash this place into pieces. Hurry up. Activate the Great Formation. They activated the Great Formation again. With a flash of light, countless light arrows shot out, piercing through the giant beast in front of them. Soon, many giant beasts were turned into sieves. Many of them were pierced through. Many of them had bloody holes. The effect was obvious. However, the Supreme Star Venerable Beast did not have any injuries on its surface. It had managed to block the attacks. This guy seems to have thick armor on its body. It looks like a giant armored bear. It has thick armor that can block a lot of damage. Ordinary attacks have no effect on it at all. They were frightened. So many sharp arrows had no effect at all. This gave them a fright. How were they supposed to fight against such thick armor? The arrows were so powerful, but they could not even pierce the beast. At most, they only scratched the beast's skin and made it bleed a little. This guy was really like a siege beast. Maybe it did not have heaven-defying attacks, but it had heaven-defying defenses that could block most of the damage and destroy the enemy's walls. It's over. How can we defend this place? They were dumbfounded. They had wanted to exhaust the Supreme Star Venerable Beast with the Great Formation. However, it seemed like it had little effect. If they could not kill it in one hit, the temple would be completely destroyed if this went on. At that moment, a figure slowly walked in from outside and said in a deep voice, "I'm back." Chapter 2143. Yi Tianyun had finally improved his star aspect to level 4. He had to admit that he had almost failed to do so. He would have had to search for the 10,000 Emperor Flower, which would have been a rather dangerous situation. Now that he had reached level 4 of the star aspect, it meant that he only needed enough star energy to break through to the major star venerable level. What he was most worried about was breaking through the limit. As long as he did not break through the limit, star energy would be easy to earn. Especially since there were so many giant beasts here. Why would he worry about not having enough star energy? Moreover, he had already obtained a lot of star energy. He only needed to kill a few more giant beasts to successfully break through to the major star venerable level. After going through so much, he could finally break through to the major star venerable level. It was quite exciting. To him, it had been a little too long. To other cultivators, it was really too fast. Who knew how many years it would take to break through to the sky-traveling origin level? Who knew how hard it had been? "Sir, you've come out of seclusion?" They looked Yi Tianyun up and down. It was obvious that Yi Tianyun had a different aura, but they were not sure what it was. At least, they could not feel any changes in his cultivation. He had only improved his star aspects level, not his own cultivation, so it was not that obvious. "Yes, I've come out of seclusion. What's the situation now?" Yi Tianyun walked up to them. "Forgive me for my incompetence, but we were unable to stop the giant beast's attacks at all." They looked ashamed and could not even raise their heads. They had thought that they could use the temple to deal with the giant beasts. Who knew that the effects would be so weak? "Don't be nervous. Let me take a look." Yi Tianyun's expression was calm. He went to the control panel and grasped the long moon azure dragon saber. He immediately sensed the situation of the entire temple. After a while, he nodded slightly and said, "Yes, the situation is quite bad. That major star venerable beast has attacked and destroyed many areas of the temple. The formation is not very effective against it, not only because its defenses are too strong, but also because the temple is not at its peak. If it was at its peak, it would have been cut into pieces. That's right. If the temple was at its peak, would they still be so arrogant? We've already killed them all. The faces of the heavenly tiger patriarch and the others were filled with anger. Seeing these huge beasts wreaking havoc in the divine hall built by their ancestors, they felt suffocated, but there was nothing they could do. If they were given time to repair the temple, would they still be able to do as they pleased? But for now, there was no time for them to repair, and their level was not high enough. He could only provide more energy to the temple. There were many spirit-gathering formations in the temple that had not been repaired for a long time, causing the situation to be slightly worse. If it was repaired, the number of times the temple could attack would increase by a lot. For example, the light blades from before no longer required a period of time to charge up before they could be used again. Instead, he had to use it several times in a row before it reached the charging stage. Don't worry, let me go meet them. Yi Tianyun pulled out the long moon azure dragon saber and dripped a drop of blood onto the control panel. The blood flowed into the opening. Following that, a dazzling light shone from the control panel, signifying that he had become the master of the Azure Tiger Divine Palace. If he hadn't done that and pulled out the long moon azure dragon saber, he wouldn't have been able to use the Divine Palace. As long as he became the master, he would be able to use the Great Formation in the Divine Palace at any time, which would undoubtedly be very convenient. Most importantly, he would be able to investigate the situation at will and know the situation of all the areas in the Divine Palace so that he could come up with a plan. Sir, are you going to deal with them personally? They were startled. Wasn't that tantamount to courting death? If they were giant beasts at the Star Venerable level, they wouldn't have said anything. Yi Tianyun had killed a large group of Star Venerable beasts easily. But the giant armored bear was down there, and it was a Grand Star Venerable. Whoever went down there would die. There was no way to stop it. That's right. Is someone going down there to deal with them for me? Yi Tianyun said with a faint smile. No, there's a giant armored bear there. Even such a powerful great formation can't deal with it. If you go down there, even if you have the long moon azure dragon saber, you won't be able to break this thick defense. The Jiao clan's master and the others tried to persuade him again. That's right. We can use the Great Formation to wear them down and force them to retreat. Even if it's a giant armored bear, I don't believe it can persist forever. The Heavenly Tiger Tribe's master also tried to persuade him. They didn't want to send Yi Tianyun to his death. They couldn't deal with it now, but it didn't mean they couldn't deal with it in the future. In our current state, even if we force them to retreat, we won't need more than half of the Divine Palace. It was a good Divine Palace, and after it's repaired, it can become the tribe's perfect stronghold and defend against all kinds of attacks. But if we don't deal with it, most of the Divine Palace will be destroyed, and it will be even more difficult to repair it, Yi Tianyun said. That's true, but we don't have a choice now. Sir, even if you aren't weak, the giant armored bear is too strong. The Heavenly Tiger Tribe's master and the others didn't give up on persuading him. Talented people were the most important. They couldn't do anything even if the Divine Palace was destroyed, and they couldn't stop it. Just wait and see. I'll send you out when the time comes. When you attack, I won't ask you to help me kill them, but to help me stop them, Yi Tianyun said. What do you mean? They were all dumbfounded. They didn't know what Yi Tianyun meant. What we're going to deal with now isn't the giant armored bear, but the giant beasts outside. In other words, giant beasts of the Star Lord and Star Venerable level. Help me stop them so that I can kill them all. A murderous intent flashed in the depths of Yi Tianyun's eyes. So that's how it is. The Heavenly Tiger Tribe's master slapped his thigh and said in pleasant surprise, this is called a disguised rescue. If we kill all the giant beasts outside, I don't believe that the giant armored bear won't come out. It can't just watch as its subordinates are killed, can it? Yi Tianyun was dumbfounded. He had to admit that the Heavenly Tiger Tribe's master had a good idea, but he hadn't thought of it that way. He just wanted to harvest a wave of star energy. He was still short of star energy, and he would be able to increase his cultivation level. Something like that. Yi Tianyun didn't explain too much. Since that was what he was thinking, He would just go with the Heavenly Tiger Tribe's master's plan. That's good. This plan is feasible. We can carry it out now. The Ghana tribe's master nodded and said, "We've been staying here for too long. Now we can go out and exterminate them." Chapter 21:44. After coming up with a plan, Yi Tianyun and the rest immediately took action. They all thought that they were going to kill the giant beasts to lure the giant armored bear out. Only Yi Tianyun knew the real situation. Soon after, they quickly went out of the temple's doors. Under Yi Tianyun's control, a small gap was easily opened, and they all rushed out. There were groups of giant beasts outside, and there were many star venerates among them. They had purposely blocked the entrance to prevent Yi Tianyun and the rest from escaping. Now that they had come out, they all roared angrily and charged over. They had never experienced Yi Tianyun's terror, so naturally, they were not afraid of them. "Help me trap them. Let me kill them," Yi Tianyun said in a deep voice. "Of course, if you want to kill the giant beasts, try to kill the ones with lower cultivation. As for the ones above the star venerate level, leave them to me." They did not know what Yi Tianyun meant, but they could only do as he said. Given the amount of star energy they needed now, only the ones above the star venerate level would provide them with more star energy. As for the other levels, the amount of star energy required was too little. Of course, no matter how little meat there was, it was still meat. However, it was a little too unkind to ask them to block the beasts and not let them fight. The Jiao family patriarch and the rest quickly spread out and surrounded the area, sealing off all the paths. The ones with lower cultivation waved their hands, and a large number of them died. As for the ones above the star venerate level, they all swatted them back with a slap. Yi Tianyun had already said that he would deal with the star venerates and above. Naturally, he had to swat them back and not let them escape or kill them. At this moment, countless saber lights swept over and completely cut them into countless pieces. With one slash, several star venerates and a large number of star venerates were chopped in half. Yi Tianyun once again displayed his berserk blade technique, crazily slashing his way forward. All the giant beasts in the surroundings were slaughtered until not a single one was left. It was truly terrifying. Amidst this frenzied slaughter, his star energy continued to rise, and Yi Tianyun felt extremely satisfied. Having a large number of astral beasts made a difference. Every time he slashed, he would gain a considerable amount of star energy. Soon, many of the giant beasts in the area were cleared out. Some of the giant beasts that wanted to come over to help were frightened when they saw the situation. They didn't dare to come closer. Just a little more. Yi Tianyun's eyes turned cold, and he quickly flew around, slashing at the beasts he saw. There were only a few star venerable beasts among them. Most of the star venerable beasts had entered the palace with the giant armored bear to demolish the house. Therefore, if he wanted to kill those star venerable beasts, he had to get close to the giant armor bear. This meant that he had no choice but to kill some of the weaker beasts in order to accumulate more star energy. Otherwise, he wouldn't have enough star energy. Roar. At that moment, an angry roar came from underground. Then, a giant figure flew up from below and appeared in front of them in the blink of an eye. Their pupils shrank. It was the giant armored bear. As expected, they had lured the giant armored bear out. After killing the giant beasts on a large scale outside, the giant armored bear would definitely come out. Otherwise, it would be impossible for it to still be crashing into the wall below after all of them had been killed. The giant armored bear was indeed lured here. Let's go back quickly. They planned to quickly hide inside the palace. If they stayed outside, they would probably be chased by the giant armored bear. That wasn't a wise choice. They quickly hid inside the palace, and only Yi Tianyun remained outside. "You guys hide inside first. Leave the outside to me." Yi Tianyun waved his hand and sealed the door. The Ghana tribe's leader and the others didn't even have time to react before they were locked inside the palace. They didn't know what had happened. "Yes, sir." They were all dumbfounded. They didn't expect such a thing to happen. They all thought that Yi Tianyun would go back with them. Who knew that Yi Tianyun would directly lock them inside and face the giant armored bear alone? A group of people might not even be able to deal with the giant armored bear, let alone Yi Tianyun alone. But they wanted to come out, But they couldn't. The door was already tightly shut. They weren't the master of the palace. They were firmly trapped inside and couldn't come out at all. What's going on? Sir isn't coming in. This Sir is planning to face the giant armored bear alone. That should be the case. But can Sir deal with the giant armored bear? They were all stunned and hurriedly probed the situation outside. The outside couldn't probe in, but the inside could probe the outside. The two were different. After they probed out, they immediately had a panoramic view of the situation outside. At this time, the giant armored bear had already rushed in front of Yi Tianyun and spoke in human language. "You killed so many of my clansmen. Die." The giant armored bear's huge body was fast and ruthless. In an instant, it arrived in front of Yi Tianyun. It swung its huge palm down, wanting to flatten Yi Tianyun. This palm could shock the world and make ghosts and gods weep. It was the first time Yi Tianyun had seen it. With pure brute force, it could easily break through the void and shatter everything. Even if it was the law of words, it would probably be smashed to pieces by a single palm. Yi Tianyun was already prepared and quickly dodged to the side. However, his speed wasn't as fast as the giant armored bear's palm. When the Ghana tribe's leader and the others saw this, their hearts rose to their throats. "It's over, I'm going to be hit." Being hit by such a shocking palm was naturally not a small matter. Yi Tianyun couldn't dodge and could only endure the fierce attack of this palm. Pa! As the sound of air being compressed rang out, Yi Tianyun wasn't smashed into a bloody mist. Instead, he was sent flying by the palm. Yi Tianyun, who was sent flying, had thick dragon scales on his body. The six-colored king dragon's power was attached to his body and formed a thick defense. Even so, he still suffered heavy injuries. The dragon scales on his body were smashed to pieces, and his arm was almost crippled. However, the green demon god star appeared behind him and rapidly healed his injuries. In just a short while, his injuries were completely healed. As expected of a great star venerable beast's power. It's really shocking. Yi Tianyun wasn't surprised. He used this power to fly to the side quickly, then quickly pulled out his blade and swung it at the star venerable beast next to him. As the blade swept over, another star venerable beast was killed easily. "I'm fine." They felt relieved when they saw Yi Tianyun was fine. They were even more surprised when they saw Yi Tianyun could still kill the giant beasts. His Excellency is really amazing. He's fine, and he can still kill the giant beasts. Does he want to kill all the star venerable beasts? It's quite possible. But can he persist? The giant armored bear can catch up with him easily, and he will be attacked again. Chapter 2145. After Yi Tianyun used the momentum to fly out, he started harvesting again. In the blink of an eye, he killed several star venerable beasts and star venerable beasts. He earned a large amount of star energy easily. "Vermin, you are still alive." The giant armored bear was furious to see that Yi Tianyun had not been flattened by its slap. It had been confident that it could slap Yi Tianyun to death. However, after being sent flying, not only had he not been slapped to death, but he had also continued harvesting its subordinates. How could it not be angry? In the next second, it twisted its giant body again and chased after Yi Tianyun. Its giant body possessed an unequal speed. When it charged over, its terrifying speed could crush all Star Lords. It even had a great advantage over Star Venerables, who were cultivators. Giant beasts' greatest advantages were their power, speed, and defense. They did not know any martial arts techniques or cultivation methods. They only used their physical strength to attack fiercely. God did not give them high intelligence, but it gave them shocking bodies. However, they each had their own advantages. Cultivators' bodies were not as monstrous as the giant beasts, but they had all kinds of techniques and weapons. Even if they faced giant beasts, they could still put up a fight. However, if there was a disparity in cultivation, it would not be easy to make up for it. For example, Yi Tianyun's side was completely beaten up. It charged over to Yi Tianyun again and slapped him with the bear's paw again. This time, it was even more powerful than before. The giant armored bear had thought that its attack could slap Yi Tianyun to death. In its opinion, a star venerable level cultivator was nothing more than a slap. Its slap could easily destroy the world. Ordinary star venerables would not be able to resist it. It was like a powerful star venerable beast facing the Ghana tribe's leader's attack. It would not be able to resist even one move. The giant armored bear had overlooked one thing. Yi Tianyun was not an ordinary cultivator. He had the pure bloodline of the six-color imperial dragon. He would not be killed so easily. There was no exception this time. Yi Tianyun took the hit just like before. He was sent flying, but he quickly healed himself. Then, he continued to clean up the giant beasts around him. But this time, his injuries were even more severe. His hands were badly mangled, and even his body was injured to the point that it was sunken in and on the verge of collapse. The palm of the giant armored bear was truly incomparably powerful and shocking. However, Yi Tianyun's endurance was equally shocking, leaving the Ghana patriarch and the others dumbfounded. If it was them, they would definitely be severely injured by this palm. It was already good enough that they could escape, let alone continue harvesting those giant beasts. Sir, you want to get rid of all the giant beasts so that you can keep this giant armored bear? But if that's the case, the situation doesn't seem ideal. There are still so many giant beasts. The giant armored bear rushed over very quickly, and I didn't manage to kill many of them. The giant beasts can't be killed at all. Even if we kill a batch, there will be many more giant beasts to fill the gap. They have too many resources, and their cultivations are all very strong. Damn it, we really want to go out and kill these giant beasts with Sir. They could only stay in the temple and watch. They could only watch as Yi Tianyun was sent flying again and again. It made them feel incomparable pain. They were the descendants of the godly generals, and they should fulfill their responsibility to protect and kill the giant beasts with Yi Tianyun. But now, they could only watch and couldn't do anything. Yi Tianyun indeed looked like he was being beaten. He was repeatedly hit again and again, but he didn't die. He stubbornly held on. Every time, he had a strong recovery ability that helped him recover his body. This made the giant armored bear extremely angry. To it, Yi Tianyun was clearly a small worm, but he actually didn't die after being attacked so many times. Bang! Yi Tianyun was sent flying again. When he was sent flying, he quickly healed himself. Then, he raised his hand again, and another batch of giant beasts died in his hands. Ha, 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 that's enough. After killing the giant beasts, Yi Tianyun jumped up and laughed heartily like a madman. However, while he was acting like a madman, a beam of divine light suddenly descended from the sky. The space shielded by the verbal compliance law was forcibly torn open. Countless stars fell from the sky and fell on Yi Tianyun's body. Beautiful celestial music started playing and spread throughout the giant divine beast's domain. Is this? They looked at the scene excitedly. It was too familiar. When they had broken through to the star venerable realm, the same thing had happened. But it wasn't as big as this time. The sky above was full of stars, as if all the stars had appeared to celebrate him. As the divine light poured in, the power in Yi Tianyun's body increased crazily. It almost doubled. The ground around him was shaking. Don't even think about breaking through. The giant armored bear was both shocked and angry. It hadn't expected this practitioner to have the nerve to break through in front of it. It was a great humiliation for it. The giant armored bear pounced on Yi Tianyun quickly, waving its giant paws. This time, it attacked with two palms. All the power in its body was concentrated on the two palms. The air around it was compressed, as if it would explode at any moment. As long as he was hit by this attack, he would be smashed into a pulp. Yi Tianyun didn't even try to dodge. He looked at it coldly with the long moon azure dragon knife in his hand. He wasn't afraid of this attack at all. When breaking through, there was no invincible protective shield. If he was interrupted or smashed to death, it would be meaningless. Since he had broken through, there was no such thing as protection. As long as his opponent was strong enough, he could kill his opponent easily. Asshole, the giant armored bear is here before the master has finished breaking through. Alas, the situation of the breakthrough is not right. If only I could return to the divine palace. After all, I need some time to adapt to the breakthrough. Wait, I think the master has been fighting outside. He might have squeezed out his potential and forced himself to break through. That's true. Otherwise, the master wouldn't have said that he wanted to kill the giant beasts and force himself to break through. Now that he is facing the giant armored bear, he has squeezed out his potential to the extreme to break through. So that's how it is. I almost forgot. But now that the goal has been achieved, the master should hide in here immediately. As soon as he finished speaking, a huge saber light broke through the void, cut through the thick giant palm, and flew into the sky. Accompanied by a scream, one of the giant armored bear's giant palms was cut into two. When the other palm came over, it was blocked by the handle of the long moon azure dragon knife by Yi Tianyun. He didn't let it advance at all. He forcefully withstood the palm and easily cut off one of the hands. This scene shocked them so much that they almost bit off their own tongues. They took a few steps back in fright. Monster. Chapter 2146. The giant armored bear's defense was heaven-defying. Even the attacks of star venerables of the same level might not be able to cause such damage. Even beings of a higher level than the giant armored bear might not be able to do this. Yi Tianyun did it. He cut off the giant armored bear's palm with one slash. It was definitely the largest bear paw in history. However, Yi Tianyun was not interested in it. He was only interested in harvesting the giant armored bear's life. He withstood the giant armored bear's attack with his saber, but he did not move an inch under the slap. It was a world of difference compared to before. His cultivation base quickly broke through in a short amount of time. He did not need to consolidate his cultivation, unless he was going through a tribulation. Otherwise, once he successfully broke through, it would be completely consolidated, and there would be no problem. This was his greatest advantage, the ability to adapt to the environment at the fastest speed. How can this be? The giant armored bear ignored the pain in its palm and looked at the small human in front of it in shock. Not only was one of its palms cut off, but the other was also blocked. No matter how it tried to push forward, it could not move at all, as if it was fixed in the air. Weren't you very arrogant just now? You want to flatten me with such little power? Yi Tianyun sneered. The long moon azure dragon saber that was holding the giant armored bear suddenly spun in his hand. A sharp saber light flew out, and the other palm of the giant armored bear fell off again. Roar. The giant armored bear let out a blood-curdling screech and took a few steps back. Every step it took made a dong-dong-dong sound as if there was an earthquake. Both palms were cut off, and the giant armored bear became a handless bear. Although it could recover, the injuries it suffered weren't that easy to recover from. Those two slashes had cut into its soul. Yi Tianyun looked at the giant divine beast's pained expression and said coldly, "I have to say, your strength is not weak, but everything ends here. From today onwards, this place is no longer the world of giant divine beast." Even though he had the adaptive ability of the five-colored emperor dragon, he was still badly damaged after being attacked for so long. From this, one could tell how strong the giant armored bear was. If it wasn't for its strong adaptability, it would have been smashed to pieces long ago. Under his adaptability, his defense rapidly became stronger, but he still couldn't catch up to the giant armored bear's attack power. Now, his cultivation base had increased, and his foundation had improved tremendously. This was more powerful than any other ability. Behind Yi Tianyun appeared the shadow of the rainbow emperor dragon. Beneath the original 6 colors, there was an additional black color. This was the power of the dark element. Five-colored emperor dragon. When the giant armored bear saw the shadow behind it, how could it not recognize such a familiar aura? This was their former enemy, so it would be hard for them not to know about him. Under the horrified gazes, Yi Tianyun transformed into the 7-colored emperor dragon and slashed at the giant armored bear. Slash the heavens. Yi Tianyun's eyes were filled with 7 colors. All of his elemental powers were gathered under this saber. The long moon azure dragon saber in his hand roared happily and released a 7-colored saber beam. It fused together and formed a peerless saber beam that could slash the heavens and the earth. The giant armored bear's 2 palms were quickly recovering, but the recovery speed was still too slow. In the face of this domineering saber beam, it could only quickly turn around. The giant armor on its back was the hardest and could withstand the most powerful attack. At the same time, it quickly fled forward, not daring to stay for too long. It knew that it was no match, so it could only choose to quickly escape. The giant armored bear turned around. This guy knows that the armor on its back is the hardest and wants to block Lord's attack. Damn it, I hope I can kill it with one slash. Otherwise, if it escapes, it will definitely be stronger next time. The Ghana Patriarch and the others gritted their teeth, hoping that Yi Tianyun could kill it with this slash. If this giant armored bear didn't die, the next time it returned, it would definitely be a lot stronger. After all, after experiencing a fierce battle, it could stimulate one's potential. At that time, one's ability would definitely be improved a lot. Yi Tianyun's eyes were expressionless. He didn't even chase after it. He just watched the saber beam slash forward. Very quickly, the saber beam cut through the thick armor like it was cutting through tofu. It then continued to cut inwards until the armor was completely broken. The entire saber beam easily pierced through the giant armored bear's body. The giant armored bear continued to run forward, but after a few steps, it was suddenly cut in half in midair. A rain of blood suddenly fell from all directions, splattering all over the ground. Boom! The giant armored bear's huge body fell heavily to the ground, no longer breathing. The giant armored bear was really dead. Its soul had been cut in half. How could it not be dead? Ding! Successfully killed giant armor bear. Obtained 400 million star energy and 500 slay point. Obtained giant armored bear's armor, rare, giant armored bear's blood, and glittering golden door, super rare. Glittering golden door leads to an unknown area. Everything is random. Made of special materials. The giant armored bear had been killed so easily. The Ghana tribe leader and the others were stunned. Logically speaking, no matter how powerful the saber beam was, it would at most break a little of the giant armored bear's defense. It shouldn't have been able to cut the giant armored bear in half. They all knew how powerful the giant armored bear was. A giant armored bear in the late stage of the Star Venerable realm could resist an attack from a Grand Star Venerable. If it had reached the Grand Star Venerable realm, its resistance would have been even stronger. But against Yi Tianyun's saber, it was like tofu. It had been easily cut in half. They all gasped. There was only one possibility for such an outcome. Yi Tianyun was too powerful. He had amazing power. If he could kill the giant armored bear so easily, doesn't that mean we don't have to worry about the giant divine beast? The Ghana tribe leader murmured, as if he had seen their hope. They had always been suppressed by the giant divine beast and could only hide underground. They even had to change places frequently. Otherwise, they would be found. They had had enough of such days, but in order to survive, they could only hide everywhere and struggle at death's door. But it was different now. They saw hope in Yi Tianyun. They had thought that it would take a long time, but now it seemed that it wouldn't take that long. He might be able to successfully escape with them and even kill the giant divine beast. Of course, killing the giant divine beast was just a thought. They didn't hope to kill the giant divine beast. They just wanted to leave this place. They would wait for them to recuperate for a while and increase their cultivation before coming back. Chapter 2147. In the center of the giant divine beast's domain, a black silhouette opened its eyes and looked at the sky. Its eyes were filled with killing intent. A cultivator actually broke through to the Grand Star Venerable realm? This is impossible. How could he possibly break through to the Grand Star Venerable realm with my restrictions? The black shadow was both shocked and angry. It seemed like this had exceeded its expectations, which made it extremely angry. No one liked things that exceeded their expectations. The black silhouette trembled and stood up. The space around it started to tremble, but it quickly sat down again. When I completely transform, it will be the time of your death. The black silhouette spoke very fluently. It didn't sound like a normal giant beast could speak. Lord, do you need me to take action? A pleasant voice rang out next to him. Another black silhouette appeared next to him and knelt on the ground. Okay, I'll leave it to you. I'll need some time to completely transform, but I don't want this unstable factor to remain in my domain. Thank you for your trust, Lord. I'll definitely eliminate this unstable factor. Okay. The black silhouette concealed itself again. It seemed to be cultivating something. Everything was quiet. The black silhouette quickly left, leaving the black silhouette alone there. There were many divine herbs here. A casual grab would reveal that they were at least heavenly star level 4 or 5. If they were in the outside world, they would definitely shock the world. After Yi Tianyun killed a group of giant beasts, the rest of the giant beasts were easy to deal with. With Yi Tianyun's powerful cultivation, he easily killed all of them. Without the interference of the giant armored bear, Yi Tianyun eliminated the surrounding giant beasts very easily. He even opened the gate of the shrine and let the Ghana tribe's chief and the others come out to help clear the surrounding giant beasts. When the surrounding giant beasts saw that their leader, the giant armored bear, was dead, they naturally fled quickly. Since the giant armored bear was dead, they no longer had a leader to give orders to. They all chose to flee in all directions. They moved as fast as they could, but they couldn't outrun Yi Tianyun, the Ghana tribe chief, and the others. After harvesting all the giant beasts nearby, the Ghana patriarch and the others came to Yi Tianyun and said in surprise, "Sir, you are really too powerful. After breaking through, you can easily deal with the giant armored bear. If it were us, we wouldn't even dare to think about it." That's right. At this rate, he can even deal with a giant divine beast. Previously, they were worried about Yi Tianyun's situation, but now, they were all standing by Yi Tianyun's side. Yi Tianyun's performance was too heaven-defying. They were all very excited and saw hope. It's hard to say for the giant divine beast, I don't know how strong it is. I dare not say that I can deal with them, but at least I won't be in a completely passive state. Yi Tianyun didn't dare to be careless. He had never dared to underestimate his enemy. Unless he was absolutely invincible, he wouldn't dare to underestimate his enemy. That's true. The most terrifying thing is to have no power to fight back and can only escape. Even if you escape, you will be in an extremely passive state. They shook their heads and sighed. They had experienced this feeling deeply. Then, they began to repair the shrine. With their level, even if it wasn't very heaven-defying, it was at least not a problem to repair the shrine. Although it wasn't as strong as before, it was better than not repairing it at all. At this time, Yi Tianyun began to move the shrine. The shrine could be moved. The shrine was equivalent to a magic treasure of the world. A shrine that could become big or small and could not be moved was a product of a long time ago. Nowadays, things could be moved at will. If it couldn't be moved, it would be too backward. After spending so much money to build the shrine, it was equivalent to a fortress. If it couldn't be moved, it would be a great waste. During the repair, Yi Tianyun quickly moved the shrine and flew back to the tribe. They definitely had to go back. It was undoubtedly safer to repair in their own tribe. After returning to the tribe, they started to repair the shrine without stopping. Yi Tianyun also participated. His repair level was not bad either. After all, he was at the level of a level 3 astral tattoo, so he could repair it. However, he basically didn't have much star energy left. Otherwise, he would have leveled up as an astral tattoo master to repair faster. After frantically repairing the shrine had been repaired quite a bit. At the very least, they could build another wall. Their return is like a shot of adrenaline in everyone's heart, especially when they learned that Yi Tianyun killed the giant armored bear. They were even more shocked, and they became more and more respectful towards Yi Tianyun. While they were repairing the shrine, Yi Tianyun suddenly felt a sense of danger behind him. He quickly turned around and saw a beautiful woman standing behind them. Yi Tianyun's pupils constricted, and detailed information appeared in front of him. Charm beast. Through special cultivation, it becomes close to the state of a cultivator. It has extremely high intelligence and can also cultivate cultivation techniques. Its cultivation has reached the middle stage of a Grand Star Venerable. It is extremely dangerous. Yi Tianyun did not pay attention to the rest of the information. He only felt his hair stand on end. The beautiful woman in front of him was actually a charm beast. After a series of modifications, she became a cultivator. He had to admit that he was extremely shocked. Most importantly, she had appeared in the Light Moon tribe without anyone noticing. The situation outside had not changed at all. The tribesmen were still doing what they were supposed to do. It seemed like they did not notice the woman's intrusion. The Ghana tribe's leader and the others were still busy and did not notice that someone was standing behind them. It would be strange if they knew that they were facing a Grand Star Venerable. If it weren't for Yi Tianyun's sensitivity and his cultivation being a Great Star Venerable, he wouldn't have noticed it. "Can we go out and fight?" Yi Tianyun said in a deep voice. His words made the Ghana tribe's leader and the others turn around in confusion. They did not know what Yi Tianyun meant. What fight? Was he tired of repairing the shrine and wanted to go out and fight? When they turned their heads to look, they realized that there was an unfamiliar face behind them, which really gave them a fright. Especially this aura. It seemed quite unusual. The beautiful woman sized up Yi Tianyun and said calmly, "Are you the one who killed the giant armored bear?" "Well, it's impossible for them to kill the giant armored bear since your cultivation is higher. I killed it. It has nothing to do with them. If you want to take revenge, let's go out and fight. What do you think?" Yi Tianyun did not want a fight to break out here. If a fight broke out, the Light Moon tribe would be flattened. A fight between Grand Star Venerables was no joke. Once it broke out, it would definitely destroy the world. The beautiful woman looked around calmly. "You killed so many of my subordinates, yet you want to negotiate with me? What gives you the right?" Chapter 2148. The charm beast's words made Yi Tianyun's heart sink. A Grand Star Venerable's attack was no joke, especially when he had modified himself and turned into a cultivator. It seemed like he had the powerful body of a giant beast and the cultivation method of a cultivator. This reminded him of the divine beasts like the dragon race and the phoenix race. They were considered the devil race. Gigantic beasts were gigantic beasts. They were not demons, nor were they cultivators. They belonged to a more primitive type of savage beast. It was impossible to say that they were inferior to the dragon race because they had not evolved. This was a selective evolution of their race. They thought it was enough to evolve their bodies and power. There was no need for them to combine with the abilities of a cultivator. It was not to the extent of calling them low-level. However, they had modified themselves into a cultivator. It seemed like a slap in the face, denying their previous state. In fact, they had found a new form. It looked like a cultivator's state, but it did not look like a cultivator's state. Through the search of the appraisal eye, the combination of the two was perfect. They both had corresponding abilities. It seemed like they had not chosen to evolve into a cultivator's state because they would have given up on a certain physical state. In the end, they could only give up. Now that he had found a way to do it, he chose to evolve like this. No matter how much cultivators cultivated, they could not catch up to the defense of a giant beast's body. However, they could absorb bloodlines and other things to strengthen their bodies greatly. They could also use divine medicines. Only then could their bodies become extremely powerful, even surpassing the bodies of giant beast. Of course, they could not surpass all levels. They could only surpass a certain level of cultivation. As their cultivation increased, the giant beast's bodies would become more and more monstrous. Cultivators could still surpass giant beasts, but they had to pay a great price. Not every cultivator had a large amount of resources to improve themselves. Therefore, the bodies of giant beasts were usually several times, or even a dozen times stronger, than cultivators at the same level of cultivation. They were even several times stronger than the devil race, which combined their bodies perfectly. This was the effect brought about by persevering all the time. It allowed one's ability to constantly improve. Therefore, giant beasts were not so terrifying. After all, giant beasts could not use any treasures or cultivation methods. Cultivators could use these to make up for their shortcomings and kill their opponents. He had not been in this world for a long time, but he still knew quite a lot about the giant beasts. But now, things were different. This charm beast before him had toppled Yi Tianyun's understanding of the world. It was completely different from what was recorded. It possessed a completely new form of evolution. It could be said that the perfect combination of the two was the charm beast. The Ghana patriarch and the others could smell an extremely unusual aura. Moreover, it was an extremely dangerous aura. They looked at the charm beast up and down, but did not think of the giant beast. They were just a little puzzled. Yi Tianyun had killed many of her subordinates. When did he do that? Even if the charm beast mentioned the giant armored bear, they didn't think of it as a giant beast. All this while, the giant beasts had never appeared in such a state, nor had there been any signs of evolution in this regard. Because the person you want to kill is me, not them, Yi Tianyun said in a low voice. If I want to escape, I can still escape. If you go out and fight with me, I'm willing to fight with you. Do you think I'm stupid? I'm not the giant armored bear, nor am I as easy to fool as those low-level giant beasts. The charm beast walked over step by step, its eyes flickering with a faint light. I want you to come over and submit to me. Circles of light were released, and the gazes of the Ghana patriarch and the others became slightly blurry. It was obvious that they were being charmed. Wake up. Yi Tianyun stomped his foot fiercely, and a wave of energy spread out, waking the Ghana patriarch and the others up from the charm. After they woke up, they looked at the charm beast in shock, but they quickly lowered their heads, not daring to look at the charm beast. Who is this person? Her charm is so powerful, we were immediately lost. They were extremely shocked. They were all-star venerable realm experts, but they were charmed in the blink of an eye. She is a giant beast with the state of a cultivator. She has undergone a relatively perfect evolution. Although it's not the most perfect state, it's close to perfection. Yi Tianyun looked at the charm beast with a sharp gaze. He was not afraid of the charm at all. This kind of charm was not a problem for him at all. What? It's a giant beast. They were stunned. They were scared again, but this time they were scared silly. They had not dared to look at the charm beast, but now they were so scared that they raised their heads and stared at the charm beast. They carefully sized up the charm beast, but they could not tell that it was a giant beast. How did you see through me? The charm beast only asked now. At first, when Yi Tianyun said that, she was a little stunned, but she did not directly reveal her identity. Now that Yi Tianyun had explained it in detail, it seemed that he could see through it very accurately. Go out and fight, and I'll tell you. Yi Tianyun said coldly. Also, put away your charm, it's meaningless to me. Okay, we can go out and fight, but tell me the details later. Otherwise, don't blame me for killing everyone. Towards the end, her tone became extremely cold, and her eyes were filled with killing intent. Oh, I don't think you'll kill them all. If you wanted to kill them all, you would have already done so, right? You could easily find their hiding place, but you didn't do anything. In my opinion, you should be keeping them in captivity and then devouring them bit by bit, right? Yi Tianyun guessed again. The charm beast must know if it could find this place so easily. In his opinion, even a great star venerable would need some time to find this place. It was not something that could be found immediately. Yet, she could come here so easily, which meant that she already knew. She knew long ago, but she did not do anything. This was no different from the green demon race. They were just keeping cultivators in captivity, then fattening them up before harvesting them again. My guess is that you were able to cultivate to this level because you devoured the descendants of the 5-colored emperor dragons, as well as the descendants of the other divine generals. Yi Tianyun continued guessing. The giant beast did not have many hobbies, but it liked devouring the descendants of the 5-colored emperor dragons. The charm beast's eyes were cold, and instantly a powerful charm was released crazily towards Yi Tianyun, as if all of its charm was released at once, and it was only aimed at Yi Tianyun. Yi Tianyun squinted his eyes and faced the charm head-on, but his eyes didn't blur at all. Chapter 2149. The charm of the charm beast had no effect on Yi Tianyun, unless there was a huge difference in cultivation. Otherwise, with his strong willpower, it would not be able to affect him in the slightest. The charm beast was startled. She thought that she could charm Yi Tianyun. Yi Tianyun knew too much. She wanted to dig out all the memories in Yi Tianyun's head, but unfortunately, she couldn't do it. Yi Tianyun was not affected by the charm at all. It was as if she had released it for nothing. Her charm power, the power that she was proud of, was useless against Yi Tianyun here. She was a charm beast, but she was unable to charm her opponent. This was truly a waste of her talent. All right, I'll go out with you. Tell me everything. Otherwise, even if I don't exterminate all the tribes, at least a portion of the cultivators will disappear from this world. In the end, The charm beast compromised. She really wanted to know how Yi Tianyun knew so much. It seemed that he was not simple at all. "Don't worry, I won't run away." Yi Tianyun's expression was indifferent. He turned around and flew out, the corner of his mouth hooked into a smile. "Lord, we'll go with you." They all reacted, not wanting to let Yi Tianyun take the risk alone. Yi Tianyun did not refuse. He only nodded slightly, indicating that he agreed. The charm beast did not launch a sneak attack. Instead, she followed closely behind, her beautiful eyes flickering with a strange light. No one knew what she was thinking about. However, Yi Tianyun's words had a huge impact on her. Not to mention that it had a huge impact on her, even the Jiao Na clan leader and the others were extremely shocked. Especially when he said that he already knew where they were hiding, but he didn't destroy them on purpose. Instead, he kept them in captivity. Once they were fattened up, they would start harvesting them. When they thought about it carefully, they realized that it was true. It wasn't easy for them to make a move, but then they would be attacked by huge beasts. Some of the more talented ones, or the clan leaders, would be captured or devoured. For example, the Long Moon Azure Dragon Saber originally did not have any reaction. When there was no reaction, it could not be used as a key to open the Divine Hall. When there was a reaction, the huge beasts would immediately attack. Everything seemed very strange. It could only be said that they had been targeted from the very beginning. This made them very disappointed. They had thought that they had been hiding well, but it seemed like a joke. Hiding? They had done it on purpose. Thinking about it, where could they escape to under the watch of a star venerable? Even if the major star venerables could not find them immediately, it would not be a problem if they put in some effort. Unless they had set up a concealing formation that could deceive even great star venerables. However, they did not have the ability to do so at the moment. Even if they set up more layers, they would still be able to find it easily if they spent a little more time. They went out. The charm beast kept her promise and did not attack them. But they did not have that. Beast. Tian Tian beast, beast. Leader. Was that Tian Yun? Beast beast Ling beast was being. King, I was, beast said. King. Ling on, and Ling Shao was Yun. King. It was impossible for Yi Tianyun to survive. She had come to kill Yi Tianyun. Yi Tianyun was an unstable factor. If he continued cultivating, he would be a threat to them. It's my honor. I'll tell you everything, and I'll keep my corpse intact. Yi Tianyun said calmly. Tell me, and I'll keep your corpse intact. If you don't tell me, not only will your corpse be intact, but they will also die. Make your choice, the charm beast said coldly. Oh, what if I don't want to choose? Yi Tianyun said calmly. I want to live, not die. Sorry, but you don't have a choice. The charm beast released a faint pink energy that spread into the surroundings. The ground started to shake. The huge beasts in the distance knelt down, not daring to move. Is that so? I don't have a choice. Yi Tianyun said with a faint smile, but I'll keep my promise and tell you why I know so much. The charm beast narrowed its eyes. It didn't say anything but listened attentively. The Ghana clan leader and the others listened attentively. They didn't know why Yi Tianyun knew so much. Even they didn't know that much. The reason is very simple. It's just my guess. Yi Tianyun shrugged. You're playing with me? The charm beast was furious. It had fulfilled its promise, but it had received such a perfunctory answer. When the Ghana clan leader and the others heard this, they immediately burst out laughing. This was indeed an answer. I'm not playing with you. I was indeed guessing, just randomly guessing. It seems that I guessed correctly. Otherwise, you wouldn't be so anxious. Yi Tianyun laughed. This was not a lie. He had truly deduced it step by step, based on the surrounding situation and the actions of the charm beast. After deducing it step by step, he had a general idea of what was going on. The charm beast's face darkened, its gloomy expression almost dripping water. Very well, then you can die now. The charm beast grabbed Yi Tianyun's side, and suddenly a huge charm beast appeared behind Yi Tianyun. Although it wasn't a star Dharma aspect, this was its main Dharma aspect. The effect it brought was also extremely strong. It grabbed at the air and instantly surrounded the area where Yi Tianyun was. Its terrifying power was far beyond the level of an ordinary mid-stage star venerable. Even the giant armored bear was worlds apart in comparison. The charm beast's evolution was really too terrifying. It was a qualitative leap. After fusing the power of the two, the charm beast displayed an astonishing level of power. It reached out and grabbed at the air. It contained terrifying power, and the most shocking thing was the power of the martial technique. The martial arts she had displayed were not ordinary martial arts, but galaxy-grade martial art. She attacked as soon as she said she would. It was indeed similar to the giant beast's style, without any hesitation. The seven-colored Emperor Dragon's image immediately appeared behind Yi Tianyun, instantly overshadowing the charm beast's main Dharma aspect. The charm beast was stunned when the seven-colored Emperor Dragon's image appeared. She did not expect Yi Tianyun to have the seven-colored Emperor Dragon's star aspect. The inheritor of the five-colored Emperor Dragon, the charm beast was stunned at first, then a fanatical look appeared in her eyes. "I didn't expect you to be such a treasure. Oh, looks like you'll leave me with an intact corpse and devour me instead, right?" When Yi Tianyun saw her burning eyes, he knew that she was tempted. Chapter 2150. The charm beast's attacks were very sharp. Even if it was a woman, the moves it executed were very fierce. Her palms turned into sharp claws. The behemoth was born with a strong physique, so she did not need any weapons to match the power of some weapons. To put it bluntly, the sharp claws that were stretched out were at least equivalent to Star River-class weapons. It was not that they were far more powerful than a galaxy-grade weapon, but they were as hard as a galaxy-grade weapon. This was the advantage of the behemoth. The armor and claws on its body would improve as its cultivation increased. It was like a blacksmith who could make tailor-made weapons and armor for itself. Death Claw. The charm beast swung its claws down, trying to tear Yi Tianyun to pieces. Anyway, even if it tore him to pieces, it could swallow him alive. There was no difference. It seemed like a simple attack, but it contained the power of death. The pink energy in the surroundings suddenly turned pitch black. It enveloped Yi Tianyun as if he had fallen into a bottomless abyss. The expressions of the Ghana patriarch and the others changed. They quickly tried to help block it. They knew that they were not strong enough to block it, but they could only help block it now. "You guys retreat to the back. Let me deal with her." Yi Tianyun laughed loudly. He was not afraid even when facing the charm beast. Ever since his cultivation broke through to the Great Star Venerable realm, there was nothing to be afraid of, unless it was extremely heaven-defying. He quickly drew his saber. As he drew it, the long moon azure dragon saber drew a crescent moon and whizzed forward, colliding with the death claw. Boom! The two energies exploded. A black light broke through his attack and slashed at Yi Tianyun. It was obvious that the charm beast's power was superior. It easily suppressed Yi Tianyun's counterattack. Yi Tianyun did not panic. He seemed to have expected this. When the black light was about to hit him, he counterattacked again. He slashed with his saber again, but it was neutralized by the attack. It's not bad, but it doesn't match your power. You are able to cultivate martial arts, but it is not suitable for you. It seems that you still have a long way to go. While Yi Tianyun seemed to be at a disadvantage, he had managed to exchange a move with the charm beast, which was a middle-stage Grand Star Venerate, without suffering any injuries. Of course, he had to add in the crazy damage mode, stacking 25 times his strength to be able to achieve this. If he didn't do that, he really wouldn't be able to resist the charm beast's attack. Even so, it was still a victory for him. Under such circumstances, it was a draw. Didn't that mean that there was something wrong with the opponent? If the charm beast had a martial art that matched her moves, then its power would definitely be even more astonishing. "It's enough to deal with you." The charm beast's expression was cold as she continued to wave her claws and charge forward. She did not attack from afar again, but directly charged forward, wanting to fight Yi Tianyun at close range. She had the physique of a giant beast, so she wasn't worried about the opponent's attack. At the same time, she knew that she wasn't very familiar with her moves, and it didn't really suit her situation. However, there were limited resources in this area, and she couldn't find anything suitable for her. It seemed that they had just obtained it not long ago. Under such circumstances, they could only make do with their cultivation. Therefore, she directly charged over and subdued Yi Tianyun with her greatest advantage. Good timing. Yi Tianyun laughed loudly. He held the long moon azure dragon saber and laughed at the sky. Everyone, cheer for me. The Ghana tribe's chief and the others all unleashed their star materialization, and a wave of star power immediately appeared above them. They didn't know why Yi Tianyun wanted them to do this, but they just had to do it. There was no need to think too much about it. You're still interfering? The charm beast's gaze was cold. Then don't blame me for being rude later. The charm beast didn't mind devouring them. Anyone who tried to stop her would die. They have no intention of interfering. They're just watching from the side. Yi Tianyun leaped and retreated quickly. Of course, you won't have the chance. Yi Tianyun dodged her attack range, but the charm beast wouldn't let him succeed. She chased after him at an even faster speed. You cultivators are not only full of lies, but also very arrogant. Do you think you can escape? The charm beast sneered, her eyes filled with coldness. Escape? I have no intention of escaping. Yi Tianyun laughed loudly. He suddenly turned around and transformed into the seven-colored emperor dragon. He directly devoured their star power, devouring 4 pieces of star power in a row. His star materialization had been upgraded to the 4th level, so he could devour the star power of 4 cultivators. The charm beast didn't have any star power, so he couldn't devour it even if he wanted to. In the blink of an eye, he devoured the star power of the 4 tribe leaders. Each of them had 5 cubic meters of star power. At the same time, most of the star power that was converted to Yi Tianyun increased from his own 35 cubic meters to 45 cubic meters. It increased his star power by 10 cubic meters. The conversion rate was only half, but it was already quite incredible. Of course, it wasn't over. Yi Tianyun summoned the Starlight King materialization again and danced behind him, adding star power to 3 cubic meters. Together with the burning wrath of heavens, its power increased by 2 cubic meters again. In total, it reached 50 cubic meters of star power. 50 cubic meters of star power was definitely enough to scare a group of people to tears. At least, the Ghana tribe leader and the rest were shocked. They could only reach 30 cubic meters of star power after working hard, but Yi Tianyun could reach 50 cubic meters. What did that mean? After 40 cubic meters of star power, every increase in star power was equivalent to a 5-fold increase in power. An increase of 10 cubic meters was equivalent to a 50-fold increase in power, not including the previous increase in power. Under the superposition, Yi Tianyun's body emitted a dazzling divine light, and the long moon azure dragon saber in his hand trembled crazily, as if it had sensed an extremely terrifying power, making it extremely excited. Because that was the only way it could unleash its maximum power. Even though its power had decreased due to the corrosion, it was still an extremely powerful weapon, yearning for its owner to unleash great power. It's over. Yi Tianyun quickly waved the long moon azure dragon saber and slashed at the charm beast that was chasing after him. Instant flash. Chaotic star slash. Yi Tianyun shouted, and everything was enveloped by the light. The area in front of him was enveloped, including the charm beast, which was devoured by the light. Even a large area in front of him was devoured by the light. It was as if half of the giant divine beast's territory had been completely devoured by Yi Tianyun's slash. Chapter 2151. The blade light disappeared, and everything returned to its original state. A large area in front of them had been plowed flat, and some of it had even caved in. Looking around, the dense forest from before had completely disappeared, and all they could see was an endless expanse of flat land. It was not that more than half of the giant divine beast's domain had been cut off, but at least the vast and boundless forest in front of them had disappeared in front of their eyes. Behind them, there was a large forest. In comparison, they thought that they had walked out of the forest. However, this forest would quickly grow back. The life force here was too dense, and it wouldn't take long for it to recover. However, the shock of this slash would forever remain in the hearts of the Ghana patriarch and the others. Is that beast dead? Their hearts trembled. With such a powerful force, if it were them, they would have definitely turned into dust. However, that was them, not the charm beasts. They did not know if the heaven-defying charm beasts could withstand this move. When they swept their gaze forward, they immediately saw the figure of the charm beast. The originally beautiful woman had long since become a half-crippled state. Her entire body was only left with her head, and even her head had become fragmented, looking like it was about to explode. Such a powerful charm beast was still able to withstand Yi Tianyun's attack and did not completely die. However, it seemed that it was indeed very tragic. She had basically lost the ability to escape, let alone counterattack. However, she did not die, which meant that the charm beast was really too strong. If she had a companion by her side, as long as they saved her and recuperated for a period of time, she would be able to completely recover. The damage to the soul was rather serious, but it was better than completely dying. Whether it was a cultivator or a huge beast, when they encountered a serious attack, they would definitely prioritize protecting their heads. Protecting their souls was the most important thing. If the soul was broken, then there was no point in having a powerful body. As for now, she was at his mercy. Yi Tianyun came to the side of the charm beast. Seeing that it had not completely turned into dust, he was not surprised. These guys still had some means of protection. No matter what, they had to protect their heads. However, she did not have a companion by her side, so it was meaningless. What was the use of living? Wasn't she just waiting for him to harvest her? Yi Tianyun grabbed her head and lifted it up. Her originally beautiful face now looked so tragic. Yi Tianyun did not have such thoughts. He had never had such thoughts. No matter who provoked him, they had to die. Even if it was a child who had just learned to walk or an old man who was about to die, as long as they provoked him, he would not show mercy. As for whether it was a man or a woman, it did not matter. Unfortunately, you can't devour me anymore. Yi Tianyun held her head and said indifferently, your power, how could it become so strong? The charm beast could barely make a sound. She was already extremely weak, and her voice was very soft, almost inaudible. This is the power of companions. Since you can't devour me, it's my turn to devour you. Yi Tianyun said indifferently. Immediately after, he used the super soul searching technique to search the soul crazily, easily searching the memories in the charm beast's mind. However, he did not have a chance to search the soul of the demon. This charm beast was much better. She let him search her soul casually. After a round of soul searching, he had thoroughly investigated the situation of the charm beast. The more he learned, the darker his face became. How can you search my memories? The charm beast roared angrily. However, it was meaningless. She could not even fight back. You don't need to know that. Yi Tianyun quickly activated the soul bloodline in his body to completely erase the charm beast's soul. He wanted to keep the charm beast's soul and make a soul puppet. After all, she was a great star venerable. He could not let her go. The situation was suitable for him to use the soul bloodline, so he did it. When the charm beast felt her consciousness being erased, she let out a final scream. My lord will take revenge for me, don't worry. He won't have the chance. Yi Tianyun increased the strength in his hand. The charm beast's consciousness was completely erased. All that was left was the ball of soul energy. Ding! Successfully killed charm beast. 500 million star energy points obtained. 1000 kill points. Charm beast's eyes, rare. Charm beast's blood essence. Charm fruit, rare. Charm fruit, after eating, permanently increases the charm effect of the user's eyes. Can charm the enemy. The effect increases as one's cultivation increases. This thing was not bad, but it was useless for now. After dealing with it, he put away the charm beast's soul and turned to look at the Ghana tribe leader and the others. The situation isn't good, Yi Tianyun said with a gloomy expression. My lord, what situation isn't good? The expressions of the Ghana tribe leader and the others changed. Since Yi Tianyun said so, the situation was definitely not simple, especially since he had searched the charm beast's soul. They did not know how he had done it, but it seemed like he had really emptied all of his memories. The giant divine beast is also in the process of transforming. Once it succeeds, You will definitely be eliminated. Just as I said before, you will be captured from time to time and fed to the giant divine beast to increase its bloodline power. They will continue to devour and transform themselves. That way, they will be able to combine the abilities of the two. Now that the giant divine beast is about to complete its transformation and become a perfect body, it will be very difficult to deal with. Yi Tianyun could sense the terrifying power from the charm beast's memories. The giant divine beast seemed to be at the peak of the major star venerable level. Once it completed its transformation, it would probably advance to an even higher level. That was the level above the major star venerable level, which was an even more terrifying level. Even if it had not broken through, the giant divine beast, which was originally at the peak of the major star venerable level, would be invincible when combined with the abilities of a cultivator. In other words, we have lost our value and will be eliminated. The expressions of the Ghana tribe leader and the others sank. Was it really abandoning them after using them? They did not want to be slaughtered. That's right. At that time, it will leave the giant divine beast's domain and head to other regions. It will probably lead many giant beasts to conquer this world. Yi Tianyun raised his head and looked at the sky. At that time, there will probably be a series of crises. Who knows how many lives will be affected by this war? Chapter 2152. Yi Tianyun was not a savior. The destruction of the other worlds had nothing to do with him. He only wanted to solve this problem and rescue the Ghana patriarch and the others. Actually, he could still rescue them through the super teleportation godstone. As long as he stored them in the small world, he could use the super teleportation godstone to leave. Of course, before that, he needed to return to his original world, set the coordinates there, and then teleport back. This way, he would waste 2 opportunities. However, it was still very worth it to obtain so many powerhouses. Especially a group of very loyal subordinates, how could he not be happy? However, this was a bit of a waste. No matter what, it was 2 opportunities. The best was to know what was going on in this area and where exactly they were hiding. The giant divine beast's territory had always been an unknown area, and no one knew where the coordinates were. He wanted to go out and see where exactly this place was. Now that his cultivation had increased, he could break the verbal compliance law set up by the giant divine beast, which meant that he could bring them out of this place. However, he was a little unwilling to let the giant divine beast go just like that. After all, it was such a big fat sheep. It would be a pity to let it go just like that. Now that the giant divine beast was in the midst of transformation, if he could launch a sneak attack, he might be able to suppress the giant divine beast. This way, there would definitely be no worries. But what came with it was danger. Through the charm beast's memories, he knew that the giant divine beast was very powerful. Even in his current state, he might not be able to fight against the giant divine beast. Unless the giant divine beast was really in the process of transformation, and its movements were very restricted, or its power could not be unleashed. This was still unknown, and the charm beast did not know the details of the giant divine beast's state. Facing a subordinate, the giant divine beast would not casually tell others about its situation, even if it trusted its subordinate. Under such circumstances, the information that Yi Tianyun knew was very little, so it was not easy to act. Seeing that Yi Tianyun was deep in thought, the Ghana patriarch and the others did not speak, so as not to disturb him. Gather all the people in the tribe and prepare to leave at any time, Yi Tianyun suddenly ordered. Yes. They nodded heavily, and their eyes were filled with surprise. They really wanted to deal with the giant divine beasts, but the giant divine beasts were really too powerful. Moreover, the deeper they went, the more powerful the giant divine beasts would be. If they went alone, the danger could be imagined. Of course, they could also go and help. After witnessing Yi Tianyun's power, they knew that Yi Tianyun could absorb other people's astral powers to enhance his own. In that case, it was necessary for them to go together. With their assistance, he would definitely be able to increase his strength by a large margin. The giant beasts did not have any star power to devour, so it was naturally difficult for them to improve themselves. Now that they were prepared to leave, it meant that they did not intend to fight the giant divine beast head-on. This made them heave a sigh of relief. It wasn't that they were afraid of death, But they didn't want Yi Tianyun to take the risk. Just as they were about to gather their clansmen, Yi Tianyun suddenly grabbed Chieftain Ghana and said, "I'll go to the giant divine beast now. If the giant divine beast counterattacks, we'll escape together." "Sir, are you really going to meet the giant divine beast?" Chieftain Ghana and the rest were stunned. They thought that Yi Tianyun would not go to the giant divine beast, but it seemed like they were overthinking. "Yes, I'm going to meet the giant divine beast. Even if I can't kill it, I can at least plunder its belongings." Yi Tianyun's eyes flickered. With the charm beast's memories, entering the beast's territory was equivalent to entering his own home. This was also the reason why he insisted on going. With the memories in his mind, he would really be at ease. "Sir, we'll go with you." They all stepped forward and planned to go with Yi Tianyun to the tiger's den. "No need, I'll go alone this time. Your task now is to gather all the clansmen and get ready to leave this place." Yi Tianyun shook his head. "But those giant divine beasts can't use star power. If you go alone, how are you going to devour it?" They knew Yi Tianyun's ability. He had to devour star power to enhance his own strength. "No need, I'm not going to fight the giant divine beast, so I don't need your help." Yi Tianyun smiled and said. "That's good." They all heaved a sigh of relief. Although they knew that Yi Tianyun was very strong, the giant divine beast was not simple. It was so old. In addition, there were so many powerhouses inside. If they surrounded it slightly, Yi Tianyun would be exhausted to death. After feeling relieved, they went to gather their clansmen. Yi Tianyun flew directly to the area where the giant divine beast was, and he could easily find a way to avoid it along the way. At the same time, he started to continuously throw materials into the charm beast's soul, trying to create a giant divine beast. He collected a lot of materials along the way, especially in the treasure vault. There were still many related materials. After a series of fierce smashes, the form of the giant beast quickly took shape in his inner world. He naturally had to create this giant beast's body in his inner world. It would not be easy to create it outside, and it would be very conspicuous. Soon, the puppet in his inner world quickly took shape, forming a giant beast. It looked similar to the charm beast from before, but there were still many differences. The materials were all different, and it was difficult to form the charm beast from before. Due to the corresponding materials, there were still some similarities. For example, he would not let go of the charm beast's eyes. There were also other materials obtained from killing giant beasts. He threw them all in. He had killed many giant beasts, and the materials that they dropped were quite astonishing. It was just nice that he could use them to smash this giant beast. If he could create a puppet, he would be able to easily sneak in. This was just like the evil spirit race's puppet that he had created in the past. The effect was quite good, and no one could recognize it. This provided him with a very good way to sneak in. This was also the reason why he planned to sneak in. Very soon, the giant beast was built. It looked a little odd and looked quite strange. Fortunately, he had specially created it, and it looked a little similar to the charm beast. However, it was not a charm beast in human form, but a real charm beast. The real charm beast was not good looking. It did not look charming at all, but its eyes were full of charm, and its body was quite small. Other than that, it only had some sharp claws. There was nothing to look at, but it looked a little domineering. Its cultivation was not bad, and it had reached the late stage of Star Venerable Realm. He had obtained a lot of materials, and they were all high-level materials. For example, he had thrown in the giant armored bear's materials. This way, the puppet would have the giant armored bear's armor, and it was quite hard. "Okay, I'll take it,"